Bound by destiny. Powered by dragons.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Was the Red Dragon Emperor and Married Grayfia movie. Before we start, please go support Dante477 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Naruto is a male. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei, abandoned and forgotten by his parents, Naruto walked his life in complete solitude until one day he met a silver-haired girl named Grayfia Lucifuge. Now that she knows he and has learned that he carries Drag, one of the two heavenly dragons, inside her, his life will improve and he will prove to all those who underestimated him that he is not useless. NarutoXGrayfia no Harem. Chapter 1. Prologue. It all began one night when Kushina Uzumaki, the wife of the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, gave birth to 3 children, triplets. The older one, a redhead with blue eyes, was Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. The one in the middle, blonde with blue eyes, this was Menma Namikaze Uzumaki. And the youngest, a redhead with blue eyes, was Mito Uzumaki Namikaze. That same night, a masked man released the Kyuubi from its Jinchuriki, Kushina Uzumaki. She, along with Minato and other leaf shinobi, were able to neutralize the 9-tailed fox, but it wasn't enough, so the fourth Hokage decided to seal the Kyuubi. Minato. Kushina, I'm going to seal the 9 tails inside our children, the Yin chakra in Menma and the Yang chakra in Mito. Thus the fourth Hokage proceeded to seal the fox inside his 2 sons, with the Reaper death seal. After that, Minato closed his eyes, awaiting the Grim Reaper's punishment, but since it didn't take him, the blonde opened his eyes and was surprised to notice that the Grim Reaper hadn't taken him. Parka. If you're wondering why I didn't eat your soul, it's just because I'm in a good mood and on a whim, so I'm leaving. Having said that, he would withdraw, leaving everyone surprised and happy that the parka hadn't swallowed him up. The village recovered from the fox's attack, and when the villagers learned of this, they hailed Menma and Mito as heroes for containing the Bijuu within them. In the shinobi world, they were considered prodigies. But Naruto was another story. No one recognized him. Everyone focused on his siblings and gradually forgot about him. His parents only concentrated on Mito and Menma, and only on them. Every time Naruto asked them to train him, they said that his siblings were the priority. Having nothing of the Kyuubi and lacking the talent of his brothers who were praised as the containers of the fox, Naruto was considered a loser, a useless one, the black sheep of the flock, not to mention that his brothers were very arrogant, mocking him for being a loser, and that his parents loved them more than him. Naruto had to learn everything on his own. He learned to walk alone, said his first words alone, hunted animals, and learned to cook alone, burning his hands many times. He slept alone in a nearly empty room, on an old poor quality bed with no lighting. He cried alone with no one to comfort him. He trained alone. In short, his life was one of complete solitude until. Alright guys, this has been a sort of prologue, so you know how the story goes. I'd appreciate it if you gave it a chance. I'll do my best not to disappoint you. And if you've seen High School DxD, you'll know the meaning of the fanfic's title. You might be wondering, how are Drake and Albion in Naruto? The answer is quite simple, but you'll see in the next part. Also, Naruto's love interest will be Grayfia Lucifuge, and you might be wondering about the age difference between Naruto and Grayfia, but I'll address that later. That's all for now. See you later. Bye bye. Chapter 2. Chapter 1. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei. Chapter 1. It was a sunny day in the village of Konohagakure no Sato. All was peace and harmony, except for a redhead running by. This was Naruto Namikaze. He had red hair, the same haircut as Naruto, fox whisker markings, and was about 10 years old. He was running from a blonde boy and another redhead. This was Menma Namikaze, who had a similar haircut to Naruto's, but longer blonde hair, no fox whisker markings like Naruto, and was about the same age, basically the Menma from Road to Ninja. The other was Mito Uzumaki, who had long hair similar to Kushina's, was slim and pretty, To be honest, I can't imagine what she looks like, so you can imagine her for now. Maybe I'll update this chapter later and add more details. I'd appreciate it if you could tell me what she looks like in the reviews. Naruto ran from them with all the speed his legs could carry him, but he wasn't as fast as his siblings. A few minutes would pass, and Naruto would be cornered in an alley. Well, we finally cornered you, my useless brother, Menma would say. That's true, besides being useless, you're a coward, Mito agreed. What have I done to deserve this? Naruto would reply. We're doing this because you're a disgrace to the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans. It would have been better if you'd never been born, that's why we're doing this. And since no one's watching, we'll finish you off once and for all. After all, no one cares if you live or die, not even our parents, since they love us more than they love you, Menma declared. Don't count on it, an unfamiliar voice spoke. It was Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke, Naruto would say. Look who's here, it's none other than Sasuke Uchiha, the other member of the duo of losers. Hahaha, the blonde mocked his two opponents. I've heard you're a weakling compared to your siblings Akame and Itachi, though it's not surprising, trash always sticks together, Mito said mockingly. Anyway, enough talk, Menma said to Naruto, but was intercepted by Sasuke, who punched him in the face, causing him to crash into the wall and spit out saliva. Mito approached Sasuke, but Naruto met her with a kick to the chin. This would set up a 2-on-2 fight between Naruto and Sasuke against Menma and Mito. Some villagers and shinobi would notice the fight but wouldn't intervene, finding it amusing. Meanwhile, Menma and Mito would have the advantage over Naruto and Sasuke as they were trained by their parents. Minutes passed and Naruto and Sasuke lay defeated on the ground. Their opponents approached them and spoke amongst themselves. "We'll do it," Mito would murmur. "You're crazy. Everyone's watching us and that would ruin our reputation. Besides, I don't have the energy to take those two out," Menma said quietly. "Whatever, let's just go," Mito replied, and they both left the place, along with the villagers and ninjas. But Naruto and Sasuke. "Haha, we were defeated again," Naruto said. "Sasuke, you didn't need to intervene. What did you expect? I wasn't going to let you fight it alone. 1 against 2 isn't fair. I'm your friend and as such, I'll have your back at any time. Besides, we haven't yet achieved the goal we set for ourselves the day we met. I won't let you die so easily without achieving it," Sasuke replied. "That's true, I won't die without fulfilling that and I'll never forget it," Naruto said, remembering something. Flashback. The boy around 6 years old, Naruto, was walking near a river and heading towards a dock when he noticed a boy about his age, Sasuke Uchiha. He didn't pay much attention to him and sat down next to him. Sasuke turned his head towards Naruto, but his gaze returned to the river. After a few seconds, Naruto decided to start a conversation. "You're Sasuke Uchiha, right?" Naruto asked, sounding somewhat doubtful. "Yes, but how do you know that?" Sasuke would ask. "And how could I not know that? The Uchiha clan is one of the most powerful clans, plus we're in the same classroom at the Ninja Academy," Naruto replied with a smile. "And you are?" Sasuke asked, curious to know who the blonde was. "Oh, that's right, I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki," Naruto replied. After that, they would have a very pleasant chat. Sasuke would start to get along well with Naruto. He liked his personality quite a lot and liked him. Several minutes would pass until Naruto made a comment. "It must be great to be part of the Uchiha clan, right?" he would ask with some enthusiasm. "To be honest, I don't feel like I belong to that clan," Sasuke replied in a somewhat sad tone. "And why?" Naruto would say with some concern. "You see, in the Uchiha clan, everyone prioritizes my sister Akame because she's a prodigy, but I'm considered weak. My sister has already awakened her Sharigan, but I haven't, not to mention she's more talented and thinks she's all that." Sasuke lowered his head. "The only ones who train and support me are my brother Itachi and Shuzui." "I understand you," Naruto would say. The dark-haired man murmured in a low voice. "My father and mother only train my siblings Menma and Mito. The only jutsu I've learned from them is the Kage Bushin no Jutsu. They didn't even teach it to me. I just imitated it because it only requires one hand position and to finish, I only know basic jutsu." He would say this with a lot of anger. "It seems we are destined to live in the shadow of our brothers. How cruel life is," Sasuke said with melancholy. "I won't allow it. I won't let those arrogant people get the better of me and I won't die until I prove my worth." She spoke with determination. "You shouldn't let her beat you either. If you want to be better than her, get stronger." I think you're right, I won't let someone like her humiliate me, I swear I'll become stronger than her," Naruto said in the same determined tone. "Then let's promise ourselves that we will surpass our families," he said, raising his arm with a closed fist. Sasuke understood and bumped fists with Naruto, and from that moment on, they became best friends. End of flashback. "I think I can get up now," Sasuke said and stood up from the ground. Naruto imitated his action and also stood up. "I'll go home to heal my wounds, what will you do?" Sasuke asked. "I'll go to the training grounds to get stronger," Naruto said enthusiastically. "But what about your injuries?" Sasuke asked, worried about his friend. "Relax, they're just a few scratches and I didn't get hurt as badly as you." The Uchiha simply left, saying goodbye to Naruto. Just as he'd said, Naruto headed to the training grounds. A few hours passed as Naruto practiced his wind release clone jutsu, Naruto has an affinity for wind release, in case you were wondering. Naruto stopped when he heard an explosion and went to investigate. When he arrived, he was surprised to see 2 people. One was an adult man, unremarkable except for his wings, which allowed him to fly. The other was a 14-year-old girl with silver hair, wearing an outfit that seemed rather strange to the Uzumaki. Chapter 3. Chapter 2. As you're reading, this is Chapter 2 of the fanfic, Naruto the Sekiryuutei. Before we begin, I'll make a few clarifications. First, in this story, Naruto is not only friends with Sasuke, but also with Itachi and Shizui. I mention this because I forgot to include it in the prologue. Now that that's cleared up, let's begin. Warning. Naruto Shippuden, High School DxD, new, born and hero are not mine, nor are their characters my property. Naruto was speechless, as two unknown people were flying with wings, but he would compose himself to listen to their conversation. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I don't care, my mission is to finish you off, the man would say. Then let's continue the fight, Grayfia said, and with that, she conjured an ice spear with her magic and lunged at the demon. They would have a fairly even fight, but it seemed the silver-haired girl was running out of strength due to exhaustion, Just a reminder, Grayfia in this story is much younger than in the original story, although her age is currently unknown. I mention this because in the light novels, it said that she has power equal to that of Amayu, but here she's weaker. I'm saying this so you don't comment that I nerfed her, especially since she's fighting a pretty strong high-class demon. After a while, the girl would be on the ground, badly injured and with serious damage. This is your end, Lucifuge. The demon would shout, heading at top speed towards the woman, but he would not count on another person being present. Wind release. Wind release technique. Naruto would perform this wind jutsu, which would hit the demon directly while he was distracted. The demon would recover, somewhat surprised, since that human had used a wind attack, something that was not normal. The demon would realize that he was not using magic, but a strange energy that he did not recognize, although he would not take it too seriously. I don't know how you did that, brat, but my target is her, the demon said, referring to the silver-haired woman. And I can't allow trash like you to hit me, so you're as good as dead. Thus, the two would engage in a battle, but unfortunately Naruto could not keep up, as he was still weakened from his fight with Menma and Mito, but he would not give up and still damage the demon with his wind jutsus. Damn it, my chakra is running out and my reserves are low, Naruto thought. Taking advantage of the Redeed's exhaustion, the demon kneed him in the stomach, sending him crashing to the ground. Fine, I'll finish this once and for all, the demon declared, turning to his victim. But before he could do anything, his legs were frozen. He turned and saw Grayfia on her knees, but this didn't stop him from using his ice magic. You disgusting bitch. The demon would scream. Naruto wouldn't waste this opportunity and would finish off his opponent for good. He'd grab a kunai and, without hesitation, the Redeed would plunge it through the man's stomach. Damn scum, these would be his last words, and he would collapse to the ground, dead. Naruto was panting, his chakra was running low, but he could still stand. He looked at the silver-haired girl lying unconscious on the ground. The genin was torn between helping her or not. I don't know what to do with her, but I can't leave her here. She could die, and besides, she might ask who he and she belong to. It's not normal for someone to be able to fly and have wings. He decided to take her home to treat her wounds, carrying her bridal style. Naruto noticed she had many wounds all over her body and a high fever. I can't imagine everything you had to go through. After examining her, he moved stealthily so no one would see him. When he arrived at his house, he opened the front door with copies of the keys he had secretly made. He opened the door and realized no one was there. How lucky, there's no one here, so I won't have to explain about her, he thought to himself, referring to the beauty he held in his arms. Without wasting any time, he took her to his room to treat her wounds, which were serious. The boy had some medical knowledge, since he sometimes had to treat the injuries inflicted by ninjas, villagers, and even his own brothers. Sometimes, he wasn't seen by a doctor because they didn't consider his injuries serious, which was a lie. So, he had to learn how to treat his own wounds. His knowledge wasn't extensive, but he could treat his patient's injuries. He proceeded to find a first aid kit and some medical tools he had and began treating her. He had to undress the girl until she was only in her underwear, which made him blush so much that his face turned the same color as his hair. After undressing her, he proceeded to treat the bruises and cuts, bandage her cracked arms, and clean and disinfect her wounds. As time passed, her breathing improved, but her temperature was still above normal. 2 hours would pass since Naruto picked up Grayfia. He was already very tired, his chakra was still low, and he hadn't healed his own wounds yet. When he finished with her, he was very tired and fainted. Another hour would pass, and Grayfia would wake up. Now, what am I doing here? I was fighting a demon, but if I remember correctly, a child helped me because I couldn't fight anymore, and now I remember what happened next, Grayfia thought. She stood up with difficulty, still tired from her fight. She looked around the room. It was very messy and dirty. She also noticed a Redeed lying unconscious next to her. So, this is the boy who saved me. She began to examine his body, noticing that she was naked from the waist up but still wearing her panties, relieved that he hadn't taken advantage of her. She also noticed that her wounds had been bandaged and healed. You helped me without caring that we didn't know each other and I didn't owe you anything, but you did it anyway," the young woman murmured, seeing that the boy was sitting with his head tilted back and his mouth open. She giggled a little as he looked very cute, especially with those fox-like markings on his face. She turned her gaze back around the room. "Well, I should at least tidy up his clothes. It's the least I can do after he saved me," she murmured. She got out of bed and, before starting to clean, she went over to the young man and kissed him on the cheek. "Thank you. It's the first time someone has helped me selflessly." Then she put away his clothes, which were in tatters. To avoid being half naked, she tidied up the boy's clothes. She wanted to clean him up, but her body hadn't yet regained much mobility. A few minutes passed, and she finished her task when she heard a small grunt. It was Naruto, who was waking up. "It seems he's awake now," Grayfia would say to Naruto. "Oh hello, it seems you're awake," Naruto greeted. "I'm glad you're awake, tell me your name," Naruto asked. "My name is Grayfia Lucifuge," she would reply to Naruto. "And what's your name?" Grayfia would ask. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and tell me, why were you so hurt?" he asked the silver-haired girl. She thought Naruto knew about the existence of demons, angels and fallen angels, so she replied, "You see, I'm a demon and I was fighting another demon. I suppose you would have already guessed that because of our wings." "Wait a minute, you're a demon," Naruto said in surprise. "Wait, didn't you know about the existence of demons, angels and fallen angels?" the she-devil asked. "Well, no, and I doubt anyone knows about that. Besides, that explains your wings," Naruto said, his doubts now cleared up. "Now that I think about it, I was fighting that demon earlier, but we both lost consciousness, and when we woke up, we were in a different place," Grayfia asked, sounding doubtful. "Well, the important thing is that you're okay now, but what will you do now?" Naruto asked. "I honestly don't know. I have nowhere to go, and I doubt this is my world, so to speak, since I don't sense the presence of other demons, angels, or fallen angels, so I'm stuck here," the girl said. "You can live with me if you want," the Redeed would offer. "No, I'm not going to be a bother," Grayfia said. "No, not at all, you can live here, although it would only be in my room, but you can stay," Naruto asked. "Thank you very much, Naruto-sama, but may I ask you a favor?" Grayfia asked. "And what is that favor?" he would ask Grayfia hesitantly. "Can I be your personal maid?" she would ask the Redeed. What? And no, B but why? Naruto demanded an explanation. "You helped me when I was injured. I practically could have died, but you saved me even though I'm a complete stranger, without any ulterior motives, and therefore you have earned my respect and affection. Besides, the Lucifuge family has always prided itself on serving Lucifer, the strongest of the four Satans, but this goes far beyond that. Furthermore, I want to train you. I sense great magical power within you, even though you don't belong to any of the three factions. I see immense potential in you, which is why I want to serve you, and it's something I want you to accept," the silver-haired woman replied. The Redeed sighed and accepted Grayfia's favor, who bowed and said, "Thank you. I hope I can serve you, Naruto-sama." The Redeed blushed at her gesture of respect. "I still don't think it's necessary, but if you say I have potential, who am I to refuse?" Naruto would fall silent as he heard some people entering the house. "Is this your family?" the demon would ask. "Yes, but don't let them realize you live here," Naruto would reply. "Why?" the silver-haired woman would ask. This is how Naruto would explain how his brothers constantly bullied and beat him, how his parents ignored him, and how he was treated like trash in the village for not having the Kyuubi sealed inside him. He would also explain that his only friends were Sasuke, Shizui, Itachi, Hiruzen the third Hokage, whom he considered his grandfather, Mr. Tucci, and Iruka. "Naruto-sama, I promise that from now on, I will not let anyone make fun of or bother you, and I will defend you with my life if necessary," Grayfia announced with determination. "Grayfia-chan," Naruto said softly, somewhat surprised by the demon's words. "Well. It's late, we should go to sleep, don't you think?" Naruto asked, receiving an affirmative response from Grayfia, who then began to remove her uniform, leaving her in her underwear, which made Naruto blush. "DG Grayfia-chan, what are you doing?" he would ask in a low voice so that his parents and siblings wouldn't hear him. "I'm going to sleep with you. As your servant and guardian, it's my responsibility to be by your side so that no nighttime threat can endanger your life," Grayfia said, calmly removing her bra and blue panties. She didn't mind being naked in front of Naruto, who would turn even redder than he already was. "But why is she naked?" Naruto would ask again, even more embarrassed. "Because it's more comfortable for me to sleep like this, and besides, you could sleep more comfortably next to me," the demon added. Naruto had no choice but to sleep with Grayfia, so they both lay down in her bed. Grayfia was calm, but Naruto was another story. He was still red with embarrassment. "Naruto-sama, sleep well," Grayfia would say. Why you too, Grayfia-chan, Naruto whispered, closing his eyes to sleep. With Naruto's family. That was a great family outing, don't you think? Minato said cheerfully, and everyone responded affirmatively. Well, it's very late and I'm exhausted, it's best if we go to sleep, Kushina announced, and her children went to their respective rooms. With Menma and Mito on their way to their rooms. Do you think this is okay, Naruto and Aichin? Mito asked Menma. I don't care, besides, why are you suddenly asking that? Menma would reply. We left him more injured than usual. Remember, it was your idea to intercept him, and you looked like a psychopath. Were you really going to kill him? Mito said. Of course not, he may be a weakling, but he still doesn't deserve it. Besides, it was necessary. He doesn't have what it takes to be a ninja. If he becomes one, he'll surely die on a mission sooner or later, Menma said arrogantly. We shouldn't underestimate him either. He and Sasuke-san hurt us too. It's a good thing our parents didn't notice our injuries, Mito commented. Anyway, I want to sleep now. Goodbye Mito Onichan, Menma said, heading to his room to sleep. Mito did the same and went to sleep as well. With Minato and Kushina in their bed. That was a fun walk, we should do it again, Kushina would say. Yes, you're right, but what Jiraiya-sensei said really made me think, Minato said, remembering something. Flashback. Minato, Kushina, Menma, and Mito were eating onigiri from a basket in a forest when suddenly a white-haired man known to all appeared. Jiraiya. Oh, hello Jiraiya-sensei, would you like to join us on our way out? Minato greeted cheerfully, and the others greeted him back. Well, I'd love to, but that's not why I came. The thing is, Gamamaru-sama summoned me because of a prophecy, Jiraiya explained, becoming serious. And what does the prophecy say? The blonde man asked. It says, 2 young men were born with 2 beasts inside them, one is called the red and the other the white. They will be the ones who decide the fate of the world, replied the Gamma Sennin. End of flashback. To be honest, I didn't understand that bit about red and white, but he was surely talking about Menma and Mito. They're the only ones who have a tailed beast inside them, the 4th Hokage stated. Then we have even more reason to train them, Kushina would say cheerfully. That's right, but I think we should talk about this tomorrow. Goodbye Kushina, Minato said, taking his leave. Goodbye Minato, Kushina said, and closed her eyes to sleep. Chapter 4. Chapter 3. Here's Chapter 3, I have nothing to say so let's just begin. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei. Chapter 3. The Awakening of the Celestial Dragons. It was a beautiful morning in the peaceful village of Kanagakur. In the Namikaze mansion, a red-haired boy, Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, was sleeping with Grayfia Lucifuge. The alarm clock on the nightstand began to ring, and the young man started to wake up, slowly opening his eyes. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the demon, who was naked and had her eyes open, leading Naruto to believe she was already awake. Good morning, Naruto-sama, the silver-haired woman greeted. Good morning, Grayfia-chan, Naruto said, somewhat embarrassed. Even though he'd been able to sleep with her, he still hadn't gotten used to seeing her naked. Why did you set the alarm so early? Grayfia asked, noticing that the clock read 5 a.m. Because I'm sure the rest of my family won't feed me, so I set my clock to 5 o'clock since they have breakfast at 6 o'clock, and that way I won't have any problems, the redhead replied. Well, I'm going to make breakfast. I'll be waiting for you in the kitchen, she would tell him. She would then dress in her maid outfit with cuts and holes and leave. Before training with her and Sasuke, I think I should go repair her clothes. They're very torn, Naruto thought. After a few minutes, Naruto arrived with Grayfia. Wow, you cooked quite a lot and it looks delicious, said Naruto, surprised and excited by everything his maid had prepared. Naruto-sama, won't your parents mind if you used all this for breakfast? Grayfia asked. Ah, I doubt it. The Namikaze and Uzumaki clans are very powerful, especially the Uzumaki. Besides, my father being Hokage, has a lot of money, so they won't mind, the redhead replied. Then he sat down to try what was on the table, and boy, was he surprised. This is delicious, it's better than I expected. Where did you learn to cook like this? Naruto asked. As I told you yesterday, the Lucifuge family has always been dedicated to serving Lucifer, therefore I was trained from a young age in cooking, cleaning, hand-to-hand combat, magic and many other things, Grayfia replied in her usual calm tone. Wow, I can't even imagine how much you've learned, Naruto commented, somewhat impressed. I must admit they were quite strict in their teaching, but I learned some very useful things. Thus, the two would chat for quite some time about topics that would interest Naruto, he would learn more about the factions and about Grayfia herself, until the clock struck 5:50. They should be waking up by now, Naruto said. Well, Grayfia-chan, why don't we go outside so you can get to know the village better and we can fix your clothes. There's no need to spend money on me, Naruto-sama. If necessary, your clothes are damaged and I know a good place for that, Naruto would reply. You're right, I don't look very presentable in my suit, it has holes all over it. Okay, let's go, Naruto said. Grayfia started washing the dishes because he insisted she had to. When she finished, they both went outside, where Grayfia was the center of attention due to her undeniable beauty. The men looked at her with lecherous expressions, and the women with jealousy, since she had all the men's attention, and they envied her beauty and figure. Obviously, Naruto didn't like that at all, but he held back. Just then, Naruto realized they were about to arrive. Look, Grayfia-chan, we're almost there, she said, pointing to the shop. They both went inside and were greeted by the manager, who would welcome them. Hello, good morning, how can I help you? I asked to find out what they wanted. Hello, I'm here so I can get some of her clothes fixed, pointing at Grayfia, and if there's anything else, we'll take some equipment too, Naruto replied, referring to Grayfia. Well, miss, please come with me so I can repair your outfit, the attendant said. About 15 minutes passed, and Grayfia's clothes were as good as new. She also had a kunai kit, shurikens, a spool of wire, a bag to carry everything, and a first aid kit. How do I look, Naruto-sama? The silver-haired girl would ask with a smile. You look beautiful, she would unconsciously reply. When he realized what she said, he would blush, but he wouldn't say anything. I'm glad you like it, her maid would reply, pleased by the compliment. Naruto would look at the clerk and say, we'll take everything. Then Naruto would pay for the arrangement with everything else, and they would both leave. What will we do now, Naruto-sama? Grayfia asked her master. Let's go find a friend of mine, his name is Sasuke Uchiha, we'll go train as we agreed. I see. Tell me, what do you think about him? I think he's a good friend. He supported me through thick and thin. I consider him my best friend and almost a brother, the blonde replied, which left Grayfia thoughtful, since it seemed Naruto cared for him a lot and she was curious to know who he was. They talked for a while until Naruto spotted a house. It was where Sasuke lived. The blonde approached and knocked on the door, which Sasuke Uchiha opened. Oh, it's you, Naruto. What's wrong? The Uchiha would ask. Let's train, don't you remember? The Redeed asked. Oh, sure, well let's go, he would reply, and both of them, along with Grayfia, would go to the Konoha training grounds. On the way, the Uchiha would notice the demon's presence and ask her about it. Naruto, who is she? He asked, turning his gaze upon Grayfia. She is Grayfia Lucifuge, but I'll explain in more detail later how I met her and who she is, she replied, which made Sasuke curious to know more about her. Hello, as my master already said, my name is Grayfia Lucifuge, your servant. I hope we get along well, Sasuke-sama. She greeted Sasuke with a bow, and he returned the greeting. After a few minutes, the three of them arrived at the training field. Okay, now I can tell you how I met her, Naruto would say to Sasuke. But why does it have to be in private? Sasuke asked. Because I don't know how others would react if I said it in public. Anyway, I'll tell you straight, she's a demon, the Redeed replied. Ah, that's a good joke, Naruto, but seriously, who is she? He asked again, without getting any answer. What, are you serious? Do I look like an idiot to you? But if she really is a demon like you say, I'll need proof, the raven-haired boy demanded, not believing what Naruto said. Alright, Grayfia-chan, spread your demon wings, Naruto asked Grayfia. Yes, Naruto-sama, she said, and then she would take out her demon wings, which would leave the Uchiha speechless. A few seconds would pass where Sasuke wouldn't speak, but he would eventually get out of his shock. But what? It's impossible that she's a demon, but could you explain in more detail? Sasuke asked Naruto. Grayfia-chan, you explain the factions to her, I'm not very familiar with the subject yet. As you command, Naruto-sama. The silver-haired woman began explaining the three factions, how she came to be there, and her assumption that she was from a different world. Sasuke couldn't believe what he was hearing, as something like that had never crossed his mind. Okay, let me see if I understand. You come from a different world, where there are three factions. Angels, fallen angels, and demons. It turns out the demon faction was in a civil war and you were fighting another demon on an island. You both fell unconscious and when you woke up, you were in the training grounds, Sasuke said, checking his understanding. Indeed, Grayfia would reply. Alright, I believe you, although it will take me a while to process the information, Sasuke commented. Well, now that that's cleared up, let's train, that's why we're here. Will you join us, Grayfia-chan? The Redeed stated. Yes, Naruto-sama, but first I need to check something. And what is it? His teacher would ask. Do you remember last night when I said you had potential? Grayfia would ask. If I remember correctly, what did you mean by that? The Uzumaki would ask again. Vera, when I met you, I felt a great magical energy within you and also within Sasuke-sama. It's most likely a sacred gear, the silver-haired woman replied. What is a sacred gear? Naruto would ask. Yes, what are they? Sasuke would chime in, because if what Grayfia said was correct, it would be in his best interest to know what they were, and he could increase his power. Sacred gears are objects with powerful abilities granted to humans by the original god of the Bible, Grayfia would reply. Even so, the sacred gears are from your world, Sasuke would reply analytically. That's true, but we have nothing to lose by trying, Grayfia would say. Okay, how do I get the sacred gear? Naruto would ask. First, raise your left arm, Grayfia instructed, and Naruto obeyed. Sasuke, who was listening, did the same. Now, visualize the strongest person you know and concentrate. Naruto did as instructed and imagined Minato. The Redeed didn't like picturing Minato because of the way he treated him, but he had to admit that he was the most powerful person he knew. Sasuke, for his part, imagined Itachi, since he was even stronger than his father, Fugaku. After a minute, Naruto and Sasuke emitted an intense light, red from Naruto and blue from Sasuke. Grayfia watched attentively, quite impressed, but didn't show it because of her serious expression. When the light faded, Naruto was revealed wearing a red gauntlet that covered his hand and forearm. His fingers were replaced with claws resembling those of a beast, and a green gem adorned the center of his hand. Sasuke, on the other hand, had a pair of white wings on his back, each with 4 light blue energy feathers. No one uttered a single word, so stunned were they all by the sight, until Grayfia broke the silence. It seems my assumption was correct. You too possess a sacred gear, Grayfia remarked. She approached Naruto, staring intently at the gauntlet. It appears your sacred gear is the twi-circular which temporarily doubles your strength, Grayfia told Naruto. Then the demon turned to Sasuke. I'm not familiar with your sacred gear. I honestly don't know its name or what it does, Grayfia said to Sasuke. To say I'm just a simple twice critical offends me, a mysterious voice spoke. Huh, who said that? Naruto asked, confused. Me, the gauntlet, and your demon, this isn't a twice critical, it's booster gear, the voice inside the gauntlet would reply. Boosted gear? I don't know that sacred gear, Grayfia would say to the voice of the gauntlet. And what if I tell you I'm the Red Emperor Dragon, Welsh Dragon? The one identified as Welsh Dragon would say to Grayfia, who would be left speechless. Grayfia-chan, what are you talking about? The now Sekiryuutei would ask. Grayfia would snap out of her surprise and reply. Dear Naruto-sama, during the War of the Three Factions, 2 dragons appeared out of nowhere, known as the 2 Heavenly Dragons. The Red Dragon known as the Welsh Dragon and the White Dragon known as the Vanishing Dragon. These 2 dragons fought in the midst of the war, disregarding the fact that the 3 factions were at war. The factions decided to intervene and made a peace treaty, managing to seal the 2 dragons in the form of sacred gears. Currently, angels, fallen angels, and demons have long sought out the wielders of the Red Dragon, called the Sekiryuutei, and the White Dragon, called the Hakuryuuku. That's all I know, Grayfia explained to Naruto. You said it in a rather concise way, but it's all true, although I didn't know that my wielder was called Sekiryuutei, the dragon remarked. Wait, so you're the Red Dragon from the story? The Redeed asked the dragon. Exactly, and please call me Drag would reply. Okay Drag, but putting history lessons aside, what can the boosted gear do? You can double your strength as many times as you can, as long as your body can withstand the power increases, transfer it to another person, and if you master it, you can summon an armor called Scale Mail. Great. And what can Sasuke's sacred gear do? Are you going to stay silent, Albion? Drag asked someone named Albion. I was going to speak, but you interrupted me, another mysterious voice would reply. Who is it? Sasuke would ask the voice. I am the dragon sealed within the wings, and my name is Albion, Albion would reply to Sasuke's question. Dragon? Sealed. Wait a minute, if Naruto has the red dragon, does that mean you're the white dragon of the story? Indeed. Honestly, I don't know how to react to this anyway, what can wings do? They're called divine dividing. Besides logically granting the ability to fly, they can do the opposite of what boosted gear does. Divide someone's power in half and make it your own. If you manage to master it, you can summon a scale mail armor, but it will look different from boosted gear. I see, Sasuke said. Even so, there is one question that remains unanswered, Grayfia would say. And what is Grayfia-chan? Naruto would ask. The celestial dragons are supposed to be from the world I come from, how did you get here? Grayfia asked the dragons. It's a secret, Albion would say. And why? The silver-haired woman would ask. The person who put us into our host's bodies told us not to reveal why, but you'll find out in due time, Drag replied this time. Well, we'll find out someday. For now, let's focus on mastering our sacred gears, shall we, Sasuke? Naruto said, changing the subject. Yes, let's go, Sasuke replied. Come here, Grayfia-chan, Naruto would say to his mate. Yes, Naruto-sama, the silver-haired woman would reply. Well, my beloved audience, I hope you enjoyed it. In the next chapter, there will be a Naruto vs Menma and Mito fight and a Sasuke vs Akame fight. Please consider this an apology for the delay. Comment on what you thought of the chapter. See you later. Bye bye. Chapter 5. Sibling Rivalry. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei. Chapter 4. Confrontation between brothers. 2 years had passed since Naruto and Sasuke discovered they possessed the red and white dragons, drastically increasing their power. They had already mastered their balance breaker and were currently training a less risky version of the original Juggernaut drive, the Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive. This was because using the Juggernaut drive would significantly shorten their lifespans and they would die within minutes. Naruto's chakra natures were wind release, Futen, and fire release, Kaiten, and he had learned a good variety of jutsu of both elements. Sasuke mastered his Sharingan, even using the 3-tomo version, Magatama, Tomo, or whatever you call it, and could get the most out of it. His chakra natures were lightning release, Raton, and fire release, Kaiten. Grayfia was not far behind either, and she too increased her demonic power and improved her control of her ice magic, reaching a high level. Menma and Mito also increased their power, so much so that they could access 2 of the 9 tails without losing control, but they were still inferior to Naruto, Sasuke, and Grayfia. The relationship between Naruto and Grayfia had also grown stronger. They cared for and appreciated each other deeply. They could be considered a couple, but they weren't yet, as Naruto was still too shy to confess his feelings, and Grayfia remained very loyal to him. Sasuke and Grayfia were also good friends, but Grayfia didn't show it much because she always had a serious expression. It's worth noting that Grayfia was never discovered by Naruto's family, and they didn't know she lived in the house. She used magic seals to avoid being discovered, such as when using the bathroom. The only ones who knew that Naruto and Sasuke possessed the heavenly dragons were Grayfia, Itachi, and Shizui. The latter two knew because they occasionally trained with Naruto and Sasuke, who revealed their secret. That they had the heavenly dragons within them, the nature of their factions, and that Grayfia was a demon. At first, they were somewhat skeptical, but in the end, after being presented with evidence, they believed them. Grayfia officially became a civilian in the village because Naruto asked Hiruzen to grant her civilian status, doing so secretly from Minato. However, Minato is unaware that she is a demon, that Naruto possesses the red dragon, or that Sasuke possesses the white dragon. It was a special morning in the village of Konoha no Sato, because it was the birthday of Mito and Menma, the children of the 4th Hokage, and also the day the 9 Tails was defeated. Few remembered that it was also Naruto's birthday. He would wake up to his alarm clock, which Grayfia Lucifuge would turn off, but even so, Naruto would wake up and the first thing he would see was Grayfia, as always, and she would hug him. "Good morning Naruto-sama and happy birthday," Grayfia would say with a warm smile. "Good morning Grayfia-chan and thank you for the congratulations," Naruto said, returning the hug. A few hours would pass, during which Naruto and Grayfia would take care of their needs. Grayfia would make breakfast as usual, and they would both eat and go outside. Everything seemed normal, except this time Naruto had something planned and would go to Hiruzen's house, who lived near the Hokage Tower. "Hello," Naruto greeted Hiruzen, accompanied by Grayfia. The Redeed was dressed in a long-sleeved mesh shirt, an orange shirt with black flame designs, and black Anbu pants. I'm not very good at describing characters, so I'd appreciate it if you could put some clothing descriptions for Naruto in the comments, or just imagine Naruto however you like. "Hello Naruto-kun and Grayfia-san, by the way, happy birthday Naruto-kun," the former Hokage said to Naruto. "Thank you. And could you do me a favor?" Naruto asked the former Hokage, who was curious about the favor he wanted to ask. "Of course, as long as it's within my reach," Sarutobi would reply. "Could you give me a scroll to stop being Namikaze and Uzumaki?" Naruto asked, to which Sarutobi replied. "But where will you live? I don't think you'd like living in the forest," the former Hokage would ask, the last part said jokingly. "That's true, Naruto-sama, we have nowhere to live," Grayfia chimed in. "I have some savings from what you give me, I'll pay with that. I know it won't be enough, but in a few days I'll have to take the Ninja Academy graduation exam. That way I'll do ninja missions to earn money, and added to what you give me from time to support myself, I'll be able to pay for an apartment," the Sekiryuutei would reply. Hiruzen then set out to find a scroll that would allow him to sever his clan ties. He found it and gave it to Naruto. The rest of the day passed normally, except that after obtaining the scroll, Naruto went to his parents' mansion, where he sealed important items in scrolls. At 8 p.m., the Hokage's children's birthday party began. Many of Minato's friends, Kushina, Menma, and Mito, as well as Sasuke, Itachi, Shizui, Mikoto, Hiruzen, and Iruka, attended to celebrate Naruto's birthday. They greeted Naruto, who was with Grayfia outside the mansion. "Hello Naruto-kun and Grayfia-san," Shizui would greet. "Hello, Shizui-sama," Grayfia replied. "Oh, hello Shizui, it's good to see you," the Redeed replied, and the others also greeted Naruto and Grayfia. Well Naruto, Sasuke, Shizui, and I bought this katana for you. I hope you like it, Itachi said to Naruto, handing him a katana which the Redeed accepted. Thank you very much, Itachi, Shizui, and Sasuke, Naruto said, drawing his katana. Looks like I'll have to learn Kenjutsu, he thought. These are from me, I made them with care and love, said Mikoto, handing him a bag of homemade cookies that she had obviously prepared. Naruto took a cookie and ate it. Wow, these are delicious, thank you for the cookies Mikoto-san, said Uzumaki, to which Mikoto smiled. It's my turn, Hiruzen said, handing Naruto 2 scrolls, one labeled Kaiten and the other Fuetin, with a smile. These are elemental scrolls with many Class C jutsu, a few Class B jutsu, and one Class A jutsu on each for emergencies. They're quite useful jutsu when you're older. Thank you, Grandpa, I won't waste them, Naruto said happily. Now it's my turn, Iruka said happily, handing Naruto a book which he obviously accepted. It's 100 Taijutsu katas. I chose the best ones in my opinion. I hope you find them useful. Seriously, you have no idea how happy I am, the Sekiryuutei said sincerely. After that moment, they prepared to enter the mansion. Many ninjas were leaving gifts in a corner for Mito and Menma, and there were quite a few. The number of gifts was a bit excessive. All the newcomers would have a comical drop of sweat falling on their faces. Grayfia-chan, I want you to stay here. I have to take care of something, Naruto said to Grayfia, who nodded in agreement. Naruto then walked away and went to his parents, who were in the kitchen, and greeted them. Hi Mom, Dad, Naruto greeted, making his parents turn to look at him. Hello, Naruto. Aren't you going to wish your brothers a happy birthday? Kushina said. Seriously, that's the first thing that comes to mind when she sees me? Naruto thought. I'll do it, but first could you sign this document? Naruto asked, pulling out a scroll. Minato and Kushina were about to read it, but some guests were going to call them to come to the party, so they simply signed it, giving Naruto a triumphant smile. Well, Naruto, could you wait a little while? We'll give you your present later, but we're being called now, Minato said, but he was only using that as an opportunity to prepare a gift for Naruto, since he had forgotten it. His firstborn easily realized the truth, though he didn't say anything. Naruto, go say hello to your sisters, Minato requested. They would leave the kitchen and head towards Menma and Mito. Happy birthday Menma and Ayasan and Mito Onisan, Naruto would congratulate his siblings. Happy birthday to you too, little brother, Menma and Mito would say, but they had planned to humiliate their brother and make him look ridiculous. Menma, Mito, Kushina, and Minato stepped forward. Minato and Kushina offered Naruto the opportunity to join them, but he declined, saying he preferred to watch and withdrawing. Naruto then approached Grayfia, who was waiting. How did it go, Naruto-sama? The maid asked seriously. It came out perfectly, Naruto said, still with his victorious smile. Attention everyone, please, requested a voice that belonged to the Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Today we are gathered for the birthday of my 3 children, Menma Namikaze, Mito Uzumaki, and Naruto Namikaze. Everyone listened attentively, but most ignored the part where Naruto was mentioned, except for Naruto's friends. Naruto frowned. He knew Minato had only mentioned him to save face. To everyone present, I have something very important to announce. My son, Menma Namikaze, is a candidate to be the next Hokage and future patriarch of the Namikaze clan. Most of the guests applauded, but Naruto became angry and glared at Menma with hatred. After all, being Hokage was his dream. Grayfia noticed this and placed her hand on her teacher's shoulder, making Naruto look up. She smiled at him and said, calm down, Naruto-kun. I don't like seeing you like this. She would be calmed by that smile, which would make Grayfia look even prettier than she already was. I will also introduce the future matriarch of the Uzumaki clan, Mito Uzumaki, Kushina said, and again almost everyone applauded, and Naruto began to smile. I think I can use the clan title to my advantage, haha, Naruto thought. I refuse. He shouted loudly, causing everyone to turn and look at him. They also noticed he was accompanied by a very pretty girl in a maid outfit. Everyone was surprised, except for Sasuke, who had expected it. I refuse to lose the leadership of the Uzumaki clan, so I demand a fight for the title of clan head. I will fight Menma and Mito. Everyone was shocked, since Naruto had challenged not only Mito, but also Menma. Ani-chan, I accept your challenge. What do you say, Menma? Mito asked. That sounds good to me, Menma said. Naruto, Menma, Mito, and Grayfia went outside, followed by the guests. Everyone except Naruto's friends thought he was going to get beaten up. Minato tried to stop them, but the 3 ignored him. Naruto, Menma, Mito, and Grayfia kept a little distance from the guests so they wouldn't get hurt, but Naruto stood in front of Grayfia. He was about to say something, but Mito interrupted him. Ani-chan, who is she? Mito asked. She and Menma occasionally went for walks around the village, but sometimes they ran into Naruto and the silver-haired girl, though the Redeed never noticed them, so she became a little curious to know who she was. My name is Grayfia Lucifuge, I am Naruto-sama's personal maid and guardian, the maid replied, impressing everyone since they hadn't expected such a beauty to serve a useless person like Naruto. Many men stared at her, their eyes drawn to her beauty, comparable to Tsunade's, especially a white-haired man named Jiraiya, who was staring at Grayfia with a perverted expression. Well Grayfia-chan, this is going to be my fight, so just watch. Take my katana. I don't know how to use them, so I doubt it'll be of any use to me, Naruto said. Yes, Naruto-sama, but if I see anything bad happening, I will intervene, Grayfia replied seriously, and so she addressed the spectators who were still staring at her. You can do it, Menma-kun. Show that useless guy your power. Akame Uchiha shouted. She looked a lot like her mother, Mikoto, except her hair was tied back in a ponytail. She wore a blue shirt, black shorts, and black sandals. She wasn't the only one supporting the blonde boy. There were other girls cheering him on as well. Menma fixed his gaze on Akame and said. Hey Akame-chan, what do you think about going on a date with me after we mop the floor with this dope? The blonde asked, which made the Uchiha blush and the others jealous, and Akame responded with a "Kaya, hi Menma-kun." Menma would turn his gaze towards Naruto and say. You'd better give up, the clan doesn't need someone as pathetic as you, Menma said, but Naruto ignored him and got into a fighting stance. If that's what you want, then so be it, said Menma, running towards Naruto along with Mito. They began a series of combined attacks, which Naruto dodged, surprising everyone since they hadn't expected him to dodge both of them at the same time. That's all they've got, because if that's the case, it's a complete disappointment, said Naruto, dodging a kick from Mito. Don't brag, we're still just getting started, Mito would reply. She and Menma would distance themselves from Naruto, and the Redeed would begin to trace hand seals. Dawn. Renkin, wind release. Air-piercing bullet, Mito would say, launching a powerful gust of wind. Naruto wouldn't be left behind and would also begin making hand seals. Fire release. Fireball technique. Naruto launched a fireball which collided with the wind technique, but Naruto was winning the clash, which surprised Menma a little, but he decided to ignore it and went to help Mito by forming some hand seals. Wind release. Air-piercing bullet, Menma said, performing the same jutsu as his sister, An. After all, they have the same element and are siblings. Menma's attack would join with Mito's and collide with Naruto's. Mito and Menma's attack won the clash, raising a huge cloud of dust. Everyone thought Naruto had lost, but he wanted it to happen so he could reveal his ace in the hole. Grayfia didn't intervene because she knew Naruto wouldn't be defeated by something like that. While the dust still covered Naruto, the spectators and ninjas heard Naruto's voice saying, "Boosted gear." And another mysterious voice saying, "Boost." At the same time, a red light appeared through the smoke, growing brighter as the smoke dissipated, until it disappeared. The Redeed was seen wearing a red gauntlet that covered his forearm. His fingers had been replaced with beast-like claws, and a green gem was in the center of his hand. No one at the party knew what to say after what they saw, until Menma decided to break the ice. "What's that thing you're wearing?" he would ask, making everyone focus their attention on Naruto. "You know what? You once told me you were a shinobi miracle for being the son of the fourth Hokage, a prodigy, and having the nine-tailed fox, the Kyuubi, sealed inside you." He said this with a serious expression, but that seriousness vanished as he broke into a smile. "Well then, I'm a miracle too, because besides being the son of the fourth Hokage though, I'm not very proud of it, I also have someone inside me. The Red Emperor Dragon, the Welsh Dragon, and therefore I am the Sekiryuutei," he said proudly. No one could believe what they were hearing. Some didn't even believe those words, but Menma was the first to contradict him. "You don't even believe that yourself, it's too obvious you're lying," but he was interrupted by someone unknown. "You're wrong, Miracle Boy," the voice would say. "Who said that?" Menma would say, looking around. "Well, I, the dragon sealed in this gauntlet inside Naruto, and let me tell you, I, the Red Dragon Emperor, am as real as the Kyuubi. Now, bear, uphold the name of the Sekiryuutei by defeating these spoiled brats," the dragon said. Now everyone was in shock. No one would have expected Naruto to have a dragon inside him. But the most impressed were Minato, Kushina, Menma, and Mito. "But how come we didn't find out about that?" Kushina commented in astonishment since her son had hidden such a big secret from her, but Minato didn't answer because he was remembering the prophecy of the great wise toad. Two young men were born with two beasts inside them, one is called the red one and the other the white one, they will be the ones who decide the fate of the world. Red, he said he had a self-proclaimed dragon inside him, the Red Dragon Emperor, and apparently Naruto was born with it inside him, unlike Menma and Mito, who had the 9 tails sealed inside them after birth. Now everything is clear, but I still don't understand this white thing, Minato thought. Jiraiya also became serious and stopped leering at Grayfia, thinking the same thing as Minato. "Hey, you're Naruto's maid," Jiraiya would say to get their attention, which he would manage to do. "What can I do for you, sir?" she would ask with her typical serious expression and cold voice, which would make even the bravest man feel intimidated. "Is what Naruto says about being the Jinchuriki of a dragon true?" he asked to confirm if it was real. "Don't doubt what he says," Grayfia replied simply. "Out of curiosity, isn't there a Jinchuriki of a white dragon in the village?" the Gamma Sennin asked, causing all the nearby onlookers to fix their gaze on the maid. Grayfia didn't know how to answer, but Sasuke, who had been by her side the whole time, listening intently to Naruto's fight, caught her attention with a discreet touch on her arm, making her turn her eyes toward the raven-haired boy who whispered something to her. "Just don't tell them I'm the wielder of the white dragon." Grayfia turned her gaze towards Jiraiya and replied. "There is a wielder of a white dragon, but for now he doesn't want to reveal his identity." Jiraiya, Minato, Kushina, and everyone else listening would be impressed that there was another wielder of a dragon, but at the same time, they would be intrigued to know who it was. "Alright, enough talk, Menma, Mito, let's resume our fight," she said, snapping everyone out of their shock, since even Mito and Menma were now listening to Grayfia's words. "Anyway, the two of us together can still beat you," Menma would say. "Well, here I go," Naruto began, moving at a completely different speed than before. This impressed the ninjas, some of whom even had trouble keeping up with his movement. He then punched Menma in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him and sending him flying several meters forward. "How did you increase your strength and speed so much?" Mito asked, impressed. "Unlike you two with the Kyuubi, drag the dragon inside me, and I get along well. Having his power allows me to use this gauntlet called boosted gear, which essentially doubles my power as many times as my body can handle. So, good luck trying to beat me," he replied, surprising everyone present once again. Naruto ignored their reactions and went to Menma to throw a punch, but Mito intervened, using her Kongo Fusa, adamant chains, to bind his arms and legs. When Naruto tried to free himself, he raised his left arm, the one with the boosted gear, generating a certain amount of energy in the form of a red sphere. "Dragon shoot." He launched the energy sphere towards Mito, hitting her with the attack. Upon receiving it, she emerged from the smoke with a few wounds and undid the chains, freeing Naruto. He turned his gaze towards Menma, but Menma was already making hand seals. Pain. Msenka no Jutsu, fire release. Phoenix Age's flame technique. Menma would launch several fireballs from his mouth, but Naruto would counterattack. Fuetin. Yuika's no Jutsu, wind release. Gale technique, unleashing a gale of wind that would repel Menma's fireballs, so Naruto's attack would hit Menma directly. While all this was happening, Mito was concentrating the chakra of the Kyuubi that she possessed, I don't mean that she was drawing chakra from the Kyuubi like the tails, much less chakra control mode. I'm referring to the amount of Kurama's chakra that Naruto used in his fight against Neji. When she concentrated enough chakra, she lunged at Naruto, who dodged, moving aside with some effort. So she decided to use more power, and the gauntlet began to speak. Boost, boost, boost. All the shinobi present were impressed by Naruto's aggressive chakra surge. Although they knew his power was boosted by the gauntlet, they were still amazed by the magnitude of the increase. Taking advantage of Mito's position, Naruto grabbed her arm and began spinning her around. Meanwhile, Menma used the Nine Tails chakra. Once he had gathered it, Naruto launched Mito at Menma, causing them to collide and crash into a wall, creating a cloud of smoke. "Is that really all you've got? I'm disappointed. The gap between my power and yours is as vast as the distance between heaven and earth." Having said this, he proceeded to retreat, but he had planned to do so to anger Menma and Mito, and he succeeded because two orange chakra hands struck the reed, sending him flying. However, he recovered and got up, though he had a cut on his chest. "It's about time, I was getting bored of having such an easy fight," Naruto commented, and Menma and Mito emerged from the rubble, wearing orange chakra cloaks and tails of the same color. "I guess I'll have to get serious," the reed said. "Ready, Drake?" Naruto exclaimed, to which Drake replied, "Of course I am, partner. Let's show him the power of a dragon." Drake said demandingly. "Balance, breaker." Naruto shouted as the gem on the gauntlet glowed intensely green. "Welsh dragon balance breaker." Red armor began to appear on Naruto until only his face remained unarmored. "This is the power of the Red Emperor Dragon." After saying that, a helmet of the same color as the armor appeared, with a kind of tail on the back, and where Naruto's eyes should have been, they emitted a green glow. Balance breaker boosted gear scale male. Nobody knew how the hell Naruto got the armor, but Grayfia, Sasuke, and Itachi Shizui and Minato would be reassured because they knew about his dragon powers. Minato and Kushina would also be surprised and would agree to have a talk with Naruto so he could explain his abilities in more detail. "Menma, Mito, get ready, because I'm going to stop playing around." With that, Naruto leaped into the air, clenching his fists into a ball of red chakra, which he launched at his siblings, who barely managed to dodge it. Naruto landed on his feet and charged at Menma, who was too fast to react. Naruto delivered a powerful punch to Menma's face, sending him stumbling back about 6 meters. Naruto was about to attack the blonde again, but Mito stopped him with chains. "Hey, Mito Onisan, do you want me to give you flying lessons?" Naruto asked mischievously, to which Mito didn't respond because she didn't understand, or rather almost no one understood, what he meant by that. But their doubts were cleared up when wings suddenly appeared from Naruto's armor, and thus Mito and those present understood Naruto's words. "Are you going to do what I think you're going to do?" Mito asked, somewhat fearfully. "Oh yes, I will." Naruto prepared his wings and began to fly. To prevent Mito from breaking free, he grabbed her body with both arms and began to spin on his own axis, making Mito dizzy. Let's say he's doing the seismic toss attack from Pokemon. Taking advantage of this, Naruto grabbed Mito's face and threw her to the ground, but before she hit the floor, Menma used his hands infused with Kyuubi chakra, catching Mito at the right moment and placing her by his side. "Thank you Menma," Anichi and Mito would say gratefully. "Thank me later, we have to beat him first," Menma said, as he watched Naruto descend to the ground without saying a word. "Mito Onichan, let's use our special technique," Menma said. "Alright, if we don't use it, we won't win." With that, the brothers raised one arm each, clasping their hands together and leaving a space between them. Both brothers began accumulating chakra, forming a Rasengan. This Rasengan then turned violet and finally increased significantly in size compared to the original. "So, the Rasengan, I don't like using that jutsu at all, that's why I invented my own version, and we can both play the same game." After Naruto said those words, he raised his left forearm slightly, gathering chakra which took the form of a blue sphere that then turned green. That's right, Naruto was creating the Rasengan. Almost no one knew how he learned the Rasengan, except for Naruto's friends. "How the hell did you learn the Rasengan?" Mito asked. "Simply by observing the exercises that their father Minato gave them on how to do the Rasengan, you know, popping water and rubber balloons and keeping the Rasengan inside the air balloon," Naruto said calmly. "Let's finish this somehow," Menma said, and he and Mito sped towards Naruto, who was doing the same. The tension in the fight was at its peak. No one knew who would win. But before the two Rasengans collided, a yellow flash appeared between them. It was Minato. "That's enough," the older blonde man said, but neither of them paid any attention, so Minato had no choice but to stop them using his Flying Thunder God technique. But before he could do so, he noticed something holding his leg. It was the tail of Naruto's helmet. "Don't interrupt us, bastard," Naruto yelled, then threw Minato against a wall. The Hokage couldn't stop Naruto's attack, as he hadn't anticipated such an event. "The Dama Rasengan." Menma and Mito would shout at the same time. "Welsh Rasengan." Naruto would shout, and the attacks would collide, causing a clash that seemed evenly matched, but after a few seconds Naruto would gain ground in the impact. "Aye." The fighters screamed, creating a trail of dust, as everyone present watched. When the dust settled, Naruto could be seen with some small cracks in his armor, and Mito and Menma lay on the ground with injuries. "I must admit that last attack was good, they managed to crack my armor, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm stronger than you," Naruto said, turning around. His armor glowed crimson with a bit of intensity before vanishing. He walked away from Menma and Mito's bodies, approaching Sasuke and Grayfia. The villagers and shinobi watched in astonishment, unable to believe that the Hokage's prodigies had been defeated by someone who, from birth, had been deemed to have no future as a ninja. Menma's fangirls, however, were also filled with anger, though for some reason they felt drawn to the blonde boy without knowing why. As he neared them, Grayfia bowed and said. "It was a great fight, Naruto-sama did very well." "Ah, it wasn't that bad, they were just a bunch of weaklings," Naruto said, somewhat embarrassed. "Of course it was, you gave them the beating they deserved, maybe they'll learn a little humility after this," Sasuke said with a smile. "Well, I've done what I wanted to do, I have nothing else to do. I'm going to look for an apartment before nightfall." "Let's go, Grayfia-chan," Naruto said, receiving a hi from Grayfia. They were about to leave, but were stopped by voices. They both turned around and saw Minato holding Mito and Kushina holding Menma. "Was it necessary to leave them like that?" Minato asked seriously. "A fight is a fight. Besides, don't exaggerate. Be grateful I held back. If it had been a fight to the death, I would have finished them off without even using my scale mail," Naruto replied calmly. "But why would you do something like that to your brothers?" Kushina asked this time, serious. She had to admit that Naruto had gone too far. "First, to bring them down to earth from their lofty high of thinking they're the strongest, and second, they're not my brothers," Naruto replied. Minato and Kushina questioned why, but Naruto simply handed them the scroll they had signed. Once they had it, Minato and Kushina realized it was a scroll to leave the clan. But son, why are you leaving?" Minato asked, confused. "And you still ask? You never listened to me or cared about me, sometimes you even forgot I existed." Every time I asked you to train me, you refused, using the excuse that you had to train Menma and Mito, which only inflated your stupid egos. Every time it was my birthday, you forgot, or if you did remember, you just gave me old clothes, pretending they were new. I always had to cook my own food because you said there wasn't any left. Whenever you went on vacation, you always left me at home, using the excuse that someone had to take care of it. And you never helped me in my life, or even told me you were happy I was born. That's why I'm going to live alone with Grayfia-chan, who is the person I appreciate most in my life, unlike you, Naruto said, a hint of anger in his voice. After those words, he walked away. Minato and Kushina were very saddened by what he'd heard. They had no idea how much their son had suffered because of their favoritism towards Menma. Mito and the other shinobi and villagers didn't know how to react since the fourth Hokage's son had rejected his own family. "Goodbye Sasuke, see you tomorrow," Naruto said, waving goodbye to his friend as he walked away. "Son, please don't go," Kushina said, approaching him almost in tears, even though she always paid more attention to Menma and Mito. She wanted to try to apologize to Naruto and make amends for her past mistakes. "I can hear Naruto-sama. He wants nothing more to do with you or your family," said Naruto's maid seriously, stepping between the redeeds. "And who the hell were you to tell me that?" Kushina shouted angrily. "I am your servant and guardian. It is my duty to protect you from any threat, no matter who it may be," Grayfia replied menacingly, expelling demonic power. Everyone felt this immense power, comparable to that of a normal jounin, but they also noticed its dark energy. While all this was happening, Minato stood by, doing nothing. "Have I been such a bad father to Naruto? I know I'm not a perfect father and that I sometimes fail at that, but have I really focused that much on Menma and Mito?" These were the thoughts of the older blonde man, who remembered the times when Naruto asked them to train him, to feed him, to go for walks with him, among other things. "Grayfia-chan, that's enough, let's go," said Naruto, who was watching them from afar. "Yes, Naruto," replied the silver-haired girl, turning to Naruto, and then they both left. After that, the party continued as if nothing had happened, since Menma and Mito had awakened from their unconsciousness and were furious at the way their brother had humiliated them in front of everyone, but they didn't care that Naruto had left the family. Minato and Kushina weren't doing any better. They were filled with regret for everything they had done to Naruto. The guests who had a connection with them tried to comfort them, but nothing worked until they both calmed down and agreed to bring Naruto back and become a family again as they should be. Half an hour passed after the fight between Naruto and his brothers. Naruto and Grayfia were inside an apartment Naruto had bought, unsealing all the items he had stored in scrolls, while Grayfia cleaned the rooms. After an hour, the rooms were clean. Having finished their work, they sat down to dinner, or rather, instant ramen, since they had nothing else to eat. It wasn't that Grayfia disliked ramen, but she preferred healthier options and sometimes scolded Naruto for always eating it. After dinner, they both went to their room. Naruto had gotten used to sleeping with Grayfia. The Redeed slept in his underwear and the silver-haired girl undressed as usual. They both lay down, but Grayfia positioned herself on top of Naruto and whispered to him. "Naruto-kun, my present is still missing." Naruto didn't understand why Grayfia had suddenly said that, but his doubts would disappear when she slowly approached his face and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Naruto blushed slightly at this. "It wasn't the best gift compared to the Uchihas, but rest assured that kiss contained all the feelings I have for you," Grayfia said with a smile, and she gave him a hug. "Rest, Naruto-sama." Those were her last words before falling asleep. Naruto would snap out of his shock and say. "You rest too, my dear Grayfia-chan," said Naruto, falling asleep. "I know I have to explain the reason for the delay, but I'll summarize it for you. I became a bit addicted to Tauhu, in addition to having to read the High School DxD light novel to work on some sagas I have in mind." Chapter 6. A rivalry is born. Ciao. Past. Grab him. There it is. Okay, I leave you with the chapter. See you at the end. Running away from people with tridents and torches. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei. Chapter 5. A rivalry is born. Naruto and Grayfia would be seen outside their apartment with Sasuke. What stands out in this scene is that Naruto and Grayfia both had expressions of astonishment as Sasuke was holding a scroll in his hands. But it wasn't an ordinary scroll. This was a scroll for leaving the clan, signed by Fugaku. Note. It's worth noting that Sasuke is now wearing the same blue shirt he wore in the early seasons of Naruto, but the difference is that he no longer has the Uchiha symbol on the back. "Seriously, I can't believe that your idiot father signed that scroll," Naruto said. "The worst part is that he read it and signed it anyway, although it doesn't surprise me after all. He once told Akame that I'm just a disgrace to the Uchihas, but I don't care, after all, I benefit," Sasuke commented. "But how did the others react to this?" the Redeed would ask. "Itachi and Shizui didn't want me to leave the clan, but they respected my decision. As for my mother, she didn't want to accept it, but after a while I convinced her to leave the clan, the raven-haired boy replied. After a while of talking, the trio went outside where they were the center of attention, and many looked at Naruto with respect. 2 days had passed since the fight between Menma and Mito against Naruto. Everyone knew that Naruto had easily defeated his siblings. Rumors also circulated that the Red Deed had left his clan, and one even claimed that Naruto was a dragon's Jinchuriki. Both rumors spread like wildfire throughout the village. Many asserted that the rumors were true, while a few tried to deny them. The Konoha Civilian Council also heard about it, and although they too had their doubts, they decided it was best to wait until the graduation exam to see if the rumor was true. That day was today, but the group's steps were halted by a yellow flash in which Minato and Kushina appeared, accompanied by Menma and Mito, who wore neutral expressions. But inwardly, they didn't want to see Naruto because of the humiliation he had inflicted on them on their birthday. "Son, why don't we go together?" Minato asked, as they received many stares from the villagers. "Sasuke, go ahead, I'll follow you," Naruto would say, so that Sasuke could continue on his way. Before anyone could say anything else, Grayfia would step in front of Naruto, expelling demonic power. "Wasn't I clear enough? My master wants nothing to do with you," Grayfia said in a hostile manner, frightening the villagers who were watching the scene. "Stop, Grayfia-chan," Naruto said to make Grayfia stop. He didn't want any trouble and simply said in a cold tone of voice and with an intimidating look, "I don't have time for you, so I'll see you later, Hokage-sama and Kushina-sama." But before he could leave with his companion, Kushina spoke. "Naruto, is there anything we can do to make us a family again like we were supposed to be?" The older Red asked sadly, confirming the rumor that Naruto had stopped being Namikaze and Uzumaki. "I'll answer you with another question. Why now and not before? Why do they want me to be part of their family now that they know I'm the bearer of the Red Dragon Emperor? Do they only want me because I'm the Sekiryuutei? It's not very different from what those old fogies on the council would try," he replied, impressing the villagers, since with those words, he had confirmed the rumor that Naruto had a dragon inside him. "Naruto, I know we made a grave mistake by ignoring you, that's why we're trying to win back your affection or at least your trust, and we're not doing it because you're the Jinchuriki of a dragon, but because you're our son," the fourth Hokage would reply firmly. They think that just by asking, I'd forgive them and pretend all those years they ignored me would just pass. Physical wounds heal, but a wound in the heart leaves a scar that could last for weeks, months, or years, the Red said, discouraging Minato, Kushina, and strangely, Menma and Mito. Although these two didn't particularly like Naruto, deep down they cared for him a little, but their pride and the anger they felt for the humiliation he'd caused them blinded them. But, he interrupted, pulling them from their thoughts, it's not impossible to heal. It would be foolish to hold a grudge against you for the rest of my life, so maybe, someday, by some twist of fate, I'll forgive you. He finished, cheering his family up a bit. Naruto started to leave, but before he did, he said to the four of them in a serious voice, unfortunately, that day isn't today. He turned away. To leave, but before he could retire again, Minato would ask him something. Tell me, Naruto, who is the possessor of the white dragon? Impressing the villagers once again, because apparently there was another Jinchuriki of a dragon, which the aforementioned would answer. I can only tell you that he's going to appear today. And with that, he left for good. After a while, Naruto and Grayfia caught up with Sasuke, having a conversation about trivial things. A few minutes later, the trio arrived at the academy and entered the classroom. They were the first students to arrive, aside from Menma and Mito. It's worth noting that this time Naruto was accompanied by Grayfia, since he didn't have to hide her from the others. In the room were the Hokage and his wife, along with Jonin and the two Chunin who would be supervising the test, Haruka and Mizuki. The newcomers were looked at with great interest by the ninjas, who knew what Naruto was capable of, but they were also curious to learn more about Grayfia. Naruto was sitting near a wall. Grayfia was next to him, and finally, Sasuke. Naruto, said a voice which was Haruka's, she can't take the exam. I know, but she preferred to follow me. Don't worry, she'll come out when the exam starts, the Red would reply. Minutes passed and Sasuke, to kill time while waiting for the other students to arrive, decided to take out a book he had stored in his kunai and shuriken pouch, while Naruto decided to take a nap and lay down on the table. But in a few seconds, he felt himself being moved and realized he was now in Grayfia's lap, which made him blush a little, as he was receiving the stares of the others. Grayfia-chan, this is a little embarrassing while the others are watching us, Naruto said, blushing slightly. Just ignore them, Naruto-sama, the maid said in a warm voice. Naruto heeded her words, closed his eyes, and fell asleep. Grayfia, mimicking his action, took out a book and began to read. The other male ninjas watching couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy, wishing they were in Naruto's place. The Kunoichi didn't pay much attention to it, and Kushina was consumed by maternal jealousy, as her son was paying more attention to his maid than to his own mother. 30 minutes passed and all the students were gathered. Sasuke and Grayfia continued reading their respective books while Naruto slept soundly in the silver-haired girl's lap. "Alright, everyone, the exam is about to begin," Haruka announced, and the Jonin, the Hokage with his wife, and Grayfia left. 5 minutes had passed since the exam started. The first to finish was Shikamaru Nara, who went outside the room and waited for the others to come out. After another 3 minutes, Sasuke and Naruto emerged, drawing impressed looks from the others. It wasn't surprising that Shikamaru had finished so early after all, he was a Nara, but that Naruto and Sasuke came after him was truly impressive. Grayfia approached the newcomers and asked them with a smile. "How did it go?" "It was a little complicated, but nothing I couldn't handle," the ex-Uchiha replied arrogantly. "The same as Sasuke," Naruto would reply simply, then Sasuke would look at the Redeed and say with a mocking attitude. "Grayfia-chan, I make you study, don't I?" Making Naruto blush a little because the night before the exam Grayfia made Naruto study until he learned all the content that was going to appear on the test, but that was enough for Sasuke to start laughing a little. The others present in the room also could not help but laugh as well as him. "Congratulations, friend, you're already acting like a submissive," said the raven-haired man, making Naruto angry and prompting him to reply. "Be quiet." After another wait, the students would go outside to begin the next test. The parents of the aspiring genin would also be there, along with the ninjas who were previously in the exam room. The village council would also be present, as they wanted to know the level of the Hokage's children and Fugaku's daughter, and find out once and for all if the rumor about the dragon Jinchuriki was true. "Alright, aspiring genin, we'll now begin with a different test than the last one, because it will be a shuriken and kunai marksmanship test. To pass, you must hit 6 out of 10 with each weapon." With that, the test began. The children of civilians usually got 6/10 hits with both shuriken and kunai, but a few failed. The best scores came from the children of clan leaders. Most got 8/10 with both weapons. But the best marksmen were the Hokage's son and Akame, who got 9/10 with both kunai and shuriken. When it was Naruto's turn, he got 10/10, along with Sasuke, who got the same score, impressing the spectators who gave them both credit for their marksmanship. Mito, Menma, and Akame felt a little jealous seeing that they had been surpassed by their brothers. "Now guys, the Taijutsu tests are going to begin," Mizuki said. "We'll start with the women's tournament," Haruka continued, beginning the test. The matches unfolded. Some were good, like the one between the clan leaders' daughters, while others were bad, like the fights between Menma fangirls. The most interesting was the fight between Akame and Hinata, which the Uchiha won. This was the penultimate fight before the final, which would be Mito versus Akame. "Now let the final women's fight begin, Akame Uchiha versus Mito Uzumaki," Haruka said, and the aforementioned women entered the arena for the fight. "Begin," the Chunin declared, and the fighters charged at each other, starting a fierce Taijutsu battle that seemed very evenly matched. They exchanged kicks and punches at high speed for a few minutes until Akame, to gain the upper hand, activated her 3-Tomo Sharingan, giving her the advantage for a few seconds. But she hadn't counted on Mito channeling the Nine Tails chakra, increasing her strength and speed, tipping the scales in her favor. The fight lasted a few more minutes, with Mito emerging victorious. She approached Akame, who was on her knees on the ground, and extended her hand. "You fought well, you've improved a lot since our last fight," Mito said, and the Uchiha took Mito's hand, getting up. "I admit defeat, but I'll win next time," Akame declared, returning to the others where she was congratulated by Fugaku. Sasuke, who had been listening to his former father praising his former sister, glared at them with hatred, but then felt someone grab his shoulder. It was Naruto. "Calm down, Sasuke, they're not your family anymore," the Redeed said to calm him down, which worked. "Dad," Mito would say, approaching Minato. "What's wrong, daughter?" the blonde man would ask. "There is someone I want to confront." "And who is it?" "Her," the Redeed replied, pointing at Grayfia who was with Naruto and Sasuke, not far from them, gaining the attention of them and everyone gathered. It was no secret that nothing was known about the silver-haired girl, but most of those present thought she was just an ordinary maid. "Do you want to face Grayfia-chan?" Naruto would ask. "Yes," Mito would answer. "I'm not sure about this," the fourth Hokage would say doubtfully. "Leave them be. If she wants to fight, I don't care, but that depends on whether Grayfia-chan wants to fight or not," said the Redeed, turning his gaze to the maid. "I wouldn't mind, it's been a while since I've had a real fight," she replied seriously, but her gaze shifted to Mito. With a threatening look and voice, she said, "You better get ready, I'm not going to go easy on you, especially not with you." Mito couldn't help but feel a small shiver, but she decided to ignore that detail and headed to the battlefield accompanied by Grayfia. "Will your friend be alright?" Minato asked Naruto. "Don't let her appearance fool you, she's stronger than she looks," the Redeed replied, leaving the others wondering just how strong she was, though the spectators couldn't imagine the Hokage's daughter being defeated. "Hokage-sama, do you authorize this meeting?" Remember that the men's meetings are coming up now, Iruka asked, accompanied by Mizuki. Minato was thoughtful because he didn't know how to answer. I accept this meeting, the Hokage replied, surprising the others with his answer. On stage, the participants would listen to Minato's response. Grayfia would stand with her arms crossed, staring at Mito with a serious expression. Mito would decide to ignore her and throw about 3 shurikens, which the silver-haired girl would easily dodge. Mito would then begin performing hand seals and exclaim. Dueton. Shajikiha no Jutsu, shockwave technique, putting her hands together and launching a small pressurized whirlwind from the kunoichi's hands, it goes straight at her enemy. Everyone watches Grayfia attentively to see how she defends herself from the attack. The maid takes a fan from a pocket of her uniform, concentrating her demonic power in it and waving it to counterattack with a whirlwind of wind, countering Mito's jutsu. What the hell? Would be the general thought of people who didn't know Grayfia. Mito wouldn't be intimidated and would launch herself at full speed towards Grayfia, engaging in a taijutsu fight. Mito would try to land a series of punches and kicks that would be dodged by her opponent. The silver-haired girl, already bored with her opponent, would disappear from the Reteed site. Mito would try to find her with her eyes, but she would realize that the Chunin, Jonin, her father the Hokage, and other ninjas were looking in a specific direction, so she would decide to look in that direction. Observing that on the roof of the academy, Grayfia was looking at her with a serious and bored expression. Now it's my turn, she would jump and throw some shurikens that Mito would dodge, but before she could do anything, Grayfia would appear in front of her and punch her in the face. Her strength is like my mother's when she's angry, the Reteed thought as she was sent flying several meters back. But before she could hit the ground, Grayfia appeared beside her opponent, delivering a devastating axe kick to her back that sent her flying about 8 meters. It didn't end there. The maid leaped up to Mito's height, clasping her hands together like a mace and striking her, sending her crashing to the ground and creating a small crater. Most of those who witnessed this were speechless. No one expected a mere maid to be able to corner a kunoichi like Mito. While they knew she wasn't particularly strong compared to Jonin, she certainly wasn't weak in any sense of the word. Naruto and Sasuke simply smiled, watching everyone's amazement. Continuing the fight, Mito, still kneeling in the hole, opted to use the Kyuubi's chakra, which proved effective, as she no longer felt as much pain from Grayfia's blows. But before she could stand, the silver-haired woman placed her foot on her opponent's back, preventing her from getting up. Mito tried to break free with more force, but it was useless. Grayfia increased the pressure on the Reteed's back, causing her to let out a small groan of pain. The silver-haired woman removed her leg from Mito's back and grabbed her hair, lifting her to her eye level to say a few words. It's time to end this. Grayfia would then kick her in the stomach, sending her flying away from the fight. A few seconds would pass, and Grayfia would turn around to leave, believing that her opponent had been defeated, but she would hear a voice saying. Water release. Water dragon bullet technique. Grayfia looked back as a water dragon headed towards her, surprising the other ninjas, because that jutsu was of class A, the attack was approaching its target, which did not move, implying that it would resist the attack. When the attack would impact, Grayfia would take the water dragon, which to everyone's amazement, would begin to freeze. Haimton. Would be the general thought of the spectators who were still in awe. How is it possible that you can use Haimton? That Kekkei Genkai only belongs to the Yuki clan. Mito would angrily protest because he stopped the best jutsu she had in her arsenal with ease. That's none of your business, Grayfia said coldly, running towards Mito and punching her in the stomach so hard she coughed up blood. She then elbowed her in the back of the neck and followed up with a knee to the jaw. Next, she drew her demon-infused fan, unleashing a gust of wind even more powerful than before, sending Mito crashing into a wall. The silver-haired woman advanced on the Uzumaki, grabbing her face and slamming her to the ground, creating another crater. The genin winced in pain at the sight of the Reteed being beaten, but the kunoichi who had faced Mito before couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at the humiliation they were inflicting on her. Someone had to put that conceited girl in her place, commented a kunoichi, causing Kushina to become angry at these words, but she knew that she was right in her words. Continuing the fight, Mito was still on the ground, under Grayfia's icy gaze. Grayfia created an ice spear aimed at the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's skull, frightening her and the others watching the fight. The silver-haired woman was about to deliver the coup de grace. Minato was about to perform the Hiraishin no Jutsu, but Grayfia stopped just centimeters from the spear hitting the ground. It's not worth killing you, that would bring problems to Naruto-sama, the maid said, while being watched by Mito, who felt powerless and angry at being defeated by his servant. The silver-haired woman simply kicked the Reteed in the torso, sending her crashing to the ground near her family, to the attention of the others who were extremely impressed. As she was heading towards Naruto, Mito, who luckily did not end up unconscious and was standing with Minato's help, asked her something. Who are you really? Grayfia, upon hearing her question, looked at the Reteed and answered her. I am Grayfia Lucifuge, others call me Benalestin, but on the battlefield I am known as the silver-haired Lady of Annihilation. Let it be known that this does not end here, one day I will have my revenge on you, and I will defeat you, silver-haired Lady of Annihilation, Mito said defiantly, but the last part she said mockingly. The silver-haired woman did not take much importance and went to where Naruto and Sasuke were. You did very well, Grayfia-chan, said Naruto, leaving some somewhat surprised, since the Redeed cared more for his maid than for his own sister, but they would remember that on the Hokage's children's birthday, Naruto ceased to be Kushina and Minato's family. I'm pleased to hear that, Naruto-sama, the silver-haired woman would reply. Now let the men's fights begin, Iruka declared, thus giving way to the men's fights. The fights would be similar to the women's. The fights of the children of civilians were boring, but those of the clan leaders were the best. It was already the semifinals, and to everyone's surprise, the last fights were Kiba Inuzuka against Naruto and Menma Namikaze against Sasuke. The next match is Kiba Inuzuka versus Naruto, Nami, Iruka was saying, but he was interrupted by Naruto. It's just Naruto, he said, saddening his family with his response. Yes Naruto, both of you come forward, and so the aforementioned would go to the place of the fight. You better get ready, I'm going to win. Kiba began to speak, but was interrupted by Naruto. Sorry Kiba, I know we're friends, but I don't have time for cliché fight dialogue, so I'll make this quick. With that, the Redeed charged at Kiba at incredible speed, punching him in the stomach, making him spit blood. Naruto didn't let him rest, quickly following up with 2 punches to Kiba's face, and finally a side kick to the face, sending him crashing into the academy gates, knocking him unconscious and astonishing most of those present. Tsume and Hana were speechless, as their son and brother, respectively, had been defeated so easily, but they realized that Naruto's blows weren't ordinary. They were extremely powerful. Iruka-sensei, I already won, said Naruto, making the Chunin declare him the winner, causing Iruka to snap out of his astonishment. The winner is Naruto. The next match is Menma Namikaze against Sasuke, Iruka would say, being interrupted again, but this time by Sasuke. I am no longer an Uchiha. Upon hearing this, Mikoto, Itachi and Shizui became slightly depressed, while Fugaku didn't care. Anyway, begin, Mizuki declared. Sasuke and Menma faced each other, and the Hakuraiku activated his 3-Tomo Sharingan. Damn, I'd love to beat him up like Naruto with the dividing gear, but I want to save all my energy for my fight against him, the raven-haired man thought, getting into a fighting stance. Menma mimicked the ex-Uchiha's action, and they both charged at each other, exchanging blows. Sasuke clearly had the advantage thanks to his Sharingan. Realizing he couldn't defeat Sasuke at this rate, the blonde drew chakra from his Bijuu, matching the raven-haired man's strength. Menma tried to punch Sasuke in the face, but Sasuke stopped him, grabbing his fist. The Sharingan user delivered a powerful headbutt, causing blood to trickle from both their skulls. Distracted by the blow, Menma clutched his head, and Sasuke took advantage of his distraction, landing 6 powerful punches to the stomach and finishing with an uppercut. Menma, though not unconscious, was severely weakened. The winner is Sasuke Uchiha, Mizuki declared. The spectators had expected Menma to win, believing he was the only one capable of facing Naruto after what had happened at the birthday party. Sasuke returned to where Naruto and Grayfia were, but not before glancing at Fugaku, who gave him a blank stare. Sasuke simply frowned in annoyance and continued on his way. Now, let the final fight begin. Naruto vs Sasuke, Iruka said. Chapter 7. Naruto vs Sasuke. Xiaosu, well, I won't go on with an introduction, it's already clear you just want to see the chapter, so without further ado, let's begin with the fic. No more dogs, just a quickie. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei. Chapter 6. Naruto vs Sasuke. Upon hearing their names, those mentioned would stare at each other and move to the place of combat. The tension in the atmosphere was very noticeable. It was no secret to anyone that Naruto and Sasuke were best friends, but also rivals. I've always waited for this moment, Sasuke said excitedly, getting into a fighting stance. You're not the only one, Naruto remarked, taking his stance just like Sasuke. They stared at each other for a few moments, until, without warning, they both charged at each other at great speed, their forearms colliding with considerable force. They separated, and Sasuke attempted a punch to Naruto's face, but Naruto blocked it with his hand. The raven-haired boy didn't stop there, launching a spinning kick that Naruto again blocked with his forearm. Iruka mimicked Sasuke's action, but like Naruto, he blocked it with his forearm. They separated once more, and the former Uzumaki threw a punch to Sasuke's face, which his opponent stopped with one hand. The former Uchiha then kicked him in the chin, leaving him somewhat stunned, but he managed to recover. He grabbed Sasuke's leg, pulling him towards him and striking him with his elbow, forcing him back. The teachers present commended both of them, as their movements were quite well executed. You know what, Sasuke, why don't we go to the part we both want? Naruto would say, causing almost everyone to be confused except for Grayfia, Itachi and Shizui, who would only manage a smile. You read my mind, so let's do it, Sasuke would reply, while Naruto would simply raise his left arm covering his right eye. Boosted gear, Naruto would say, covering his forearm in a red color, his gauntlet appearing, impressing the others, since they knew that Naruto would now fight seriously. Fugaku, who was watching the fight, knew how powerful Naruto could become with the power of his dragon, so he decided to talk to Sasuke. Sasuke, just give up already, I don't want you to humiliate the Uchiha clan anymore. The others who heard Fugaku's comment were disappointed in him, and Sasuke turned to his former parents. Nobody asked for your opinion, you damn bastard, Sasuke would reply. I'm no longer part of the Uchiha clan, so don't include me in yours. Besides, let's see if you still say the same thing after seeing this. Upon hearing that revelation, everyone felt even more disappointed in the current head of the Uchiha clan, but they still wanted to see how Sasuke would defend himself against Naruto. Dividing gear, Sasuke said, and he was illuminated by a strong blue light that enveloped him, confusing those present who did not know what was happening. Then that glow began to rise, and after being at a considerable height from the ground, the light dispersed, showing Sasuke with 2 white wings, each with 4 blue energy feathers. What the hell? Would be the general thought of the spectators. Aren't you going to tell Sasuke? Naruto asked. Of course, Sasuke replied, looking at the spectators. As you all know, Naruto is the Sekiryuutei, carrying Drag, one of the 2 celestial dragons, the Welsh dragon, within him. All the spectators wondered what he was getting at. Well, I am the Hakuryuuku, since the 2nd celestial dragon, Albion the vanishing dragon, resides within me. This shocked everyone, especially Minato, since of all the people he could have imagined, Sasuke was the last person he expected to be the 2nd Jinchuriki of a dragon. Sasuke, explain to me why you never told me about this. Fugaku asked with suppressed fury, as he now realized the grave mistake he had made. Well, according to you I was the shame of the Uchiha clan, so I didn't see the point in telling you that I am the bearer of one of the strongest dragons in existence, Sasuke replied mockingly, making Fugaku even angrier. Fugaku, you're a complete idiot was the thought of many people, while Itachi was already ashamed of having a father like him, and Akane was getting jealous that her ex-brother was overshadowing her so much. Well, now let me explain this, Naruto, that the first fight in the history of the 2 heavenly dragons begins, Sasuke said with great excitement. Well, let's begin, said Naruto, getting into a fighting stance. Eyes, are you sure about this? I don't even know if that gauntlet or the wings are allowed, a voice intervened, belonging to Minato, but before Naruto or Sasuke could say anything, another voice was heard. Let them, Minato, said Danzo Shimura. Allow them to fight like this, so we can see how strong the dragons are. I know everyone here is curious to know their full power. Besides, why don't you grant their wish? They'll surely complain, and Naruto will hate you even more than he already does. Danzo finished, his last comment slightly angering him. The blonde already knew what Minato wanted to achieve, but he wouldn't let his son join Rasa, much less allow him and Sasuke to become weapons of Konoha. Even so, he would authorize the fight to determine their full power. I authorize the fight, but remember, jutsus are still prohibited, he replied with a serious tone in his voice, and returned to his family. Danzo, in his mind, smiled with victory and returned to the council elders. Let's see if they can serve as weapons for Konoha, Danzo thought malevolently. Sasuke would go from having a serious expression to having one of excitement. Alright, here I go Naruto, balance breaker. Vanishing dragon, balance breaker. Thus, Sasuke began to wear armor very similar to Naruto's, only his was white and had blue gems and golden details. Naruto would not be left behind and would imitate Sasuke's actions. Balance breaker. Welsh dragon, balance breaker. Naruto would be enveloped in a torrent of fire, and when it would disperse, it would reveal Naruto in his armor enveloped with a red aura. The Redeed would then take out his wings and lunge at his opponent. Boost boost boost, Naruto's gauntlet increased as he headed toward Sasuke, trying to land a right hook to his face, but the raven-haired boy stopped it with his hand, and without wasting time, landed a right hook to his stomach that only made him retreat. Divide divide, they would counteract Sasuke's wings, equalizing the power of both. The ninjas would sense that and have doubts. Hey, why did Naruto's chakra decrease? Menma asked Grayfia, who was nearby. Grayfia sighed, knowing that if she didn't answer, he wouldn't leave her alone, and it seems Sasuke wouldn't care. Like Sasuke-san, he is the opposite of Naruto-sama, that includes his powers. Naruto-sama with his boosted gear can duplicate and transfer his power to other people, but Sasuke-san with the dividing gear has the ability to divide the power of other people and make it his own, Grayfia would reply, to everyone's surprise. Sasuke, who had as much chakra as Naruto, would give him another knee to the stomach that would make the Redeed's body double over, but Sasuke would elbow Naruto in the back, sending him to the ground. The raven-haired boy would jump to try to finish with a kick to the back, which would be dodged by Naruto by moving to the side. The wielder of the Sharingan would approach his rival, starting a fast exchange of punches and kicks. They would both remain like that for about 10 seconds, until they would both separate slightly and close their fists. They both screamed at the same time, simultaneously punching each other in the face, breaking their masks, revealing a trickle of blood coming from their mouths. They remained like this for a couple of seconds, until Sasuke decided to resume the fight, activating his 3-Tomo Sharingan, and began to deliver a large number of punches to Naruto's stomach, causing him to spit blood. Boost 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 boost, the glove would say, increasing Naruto's power, who would counterattack by giving him 2 punches to the face, sending him flying into the sky. The Redeed wouldn't stop there, as he would start giving him a large number of punches to the stomach and finish with a knee to the chin, but Sasuke would decide to return to Naruto. Divide 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 divide, these sounds would be heard from Sasuke's wings, making Naruto nervous, as he felt his chakra had dropped too much. Boost 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 boost, the gauntlet would sound, thus equalizing the power of both. The rivals would grab each other's hands tightly. The Redeed would prepare his wings and boosters, the raven-haired one would also prepare his dividing gear, thus gaining considerable height. Against each other, they would begin to exert pressure, flying from side to side, leaving trails of blue and red energy in the sky like lines going in random directions. This would continue until Sasuke would break free from Naruto's arm, delivering a powerful blow to his face, causing Naruto to clutch his face with his right hand. EDRAIG, transfer all the accumulated power to the boosted gear. Naruto demanded of Drag, who obeyed the order, causing his forearm to begin to be surrounded by a red aura. Take this, Sasuke. Naruto would shout, striking the gem on the chest, destroying the armor. The jewel on the chest of the armor would also crack and fall out. Sasuke would begin to descend to the ground due to the impact of the blow, but he was able to land safely thanks to his wings, although on his knees. Those present were speechless. The fight between the two of them far surpassed the previous ones. Moreover, it didn't seem like a fight between aspiring genin. It seemed like a fight between ninjas with vast experience and power. Sasuke lost. Mito asked Minato, who replied, not yet. Surprising, you managed to break my armor and weaken me considerably. It was to be expected, you are my rival for a reason, Sasuke said, standing up from the ground, enveloped in a white light. When it dissipated, he was shown with his armor as good as new. You're joking, right? Mito asked. Naruto has to defeat Sasuke to win. It's not enough to just break his armor, he has to physically incapacitate him to win the fight, Minato replied, and the others nodded in agreement. The wielder of Albion charged at his opponent at incredible speed. The opponent, unable to dodge the attack because he had channeled all his power into his boosted gear, was unable to dodge, so the blow landed squarely. Sasuke followed with a front kick, sending Naruto reeling backward, and finished with a chest strike, aiming to shatter his armor. The impact sent Naruto flying several meters back. Sasuke leaped into the air, gathering a dense white chakra in the palm of his hand, and unleashed it at Naruto, striking him directly. The blast shattered the academy floor and created a cloud of dust. All the genin, except for Menma, Mito, and Akame, believed Naruto had lost, but that thought vanished when Naruto emerged from the dust, his armor as good as new. He flew towards Sasuke, attempting a punch to the cheek. The raven-haired man reacted, blocking the blow with his hand, then followed up with a spinning kick from his left leg, which was stopped by his left forearm. The Sharingan wielder lowered his leg to attempt the same move. The other, with the same result, Naruto would punch Sasuke in the stomach, cracking his armor a little. The Hakuryuku would respond with a punch to the cheek, breaking the Redeed's helmet for the second time. Not to be outdone, he delivered a powerful kick to Sasuke's chin, also breaking his helmet. Sasuke would retreat, remaining a little far from his rival. Both looked at each other with their faces showing no emotion, until without warning, they both went towards each other, grabbing each other's shoulders and staring intently. Boost 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 boost. Divide 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 divide. The sounds echoed across the battlefield. Spectators could feel the immense power of both fighters, rivaling that of an elite jonin. They stopped merely observing each other, as Naruto attempted to knee Sasuke with his right leg, but his opponent countered, their knees colliding. The Redeed tried again with his other leg, achieving the same result. They continued like this for a few seconds, both exchanging smiles, clearly enjoying the fight. To catch Sasuke off guard, Naruto extended his arm from his right shoulder, but the former Uchiha, ready to strike, was stopped by his rival's left hand. The raven-haired fighter attempted the same move with his other free arm, but was similarly blocked. Both lowered their limbs, one resting on top of the other, without a word. They simultaneously butted heads, causing them some pain, but neither stopped. Thus began another cycle, which would last until the seventh blow, since the red and white could no longer endure the pain in their skulls, rubbed them a little with their hands to relieve the pain a little. Already feeling better, they would move quite far away. Sasuke would raise his arms pointing towards his rival, accumulating all the divided power, a large part of his chakra and a little of the armor, making it less resistant, towards the palm of his hand, creating a white sphere. And the Redeed would also do the same, only his was red, both having all that power accumulated. Both would launch their attacks, thus colliding, which struggled, but each time one gained ground, the other countered. While the time of the clash passed, each would advance to the center of the attacks to try to win. Boost 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 boost. Divide 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 divide. These were the words that echoed throughout the battlefield, which was slowly being destroyed, causing rocks to begin to levitate, cracks to appear in the ground, and even some windows of the academy to be destroyed. The fighters would shout in unison with expressions that denoted effort on their faces until both attacks would end, creating an explosion. Naruto and Sasuke could not get out of range of this due to the proximity and were trapped in it. The spectators, although they were not affected, they could not avoid covering themselves from the shock wave. This is absurd. No matter what kind of strategy I use, I could never beat them. Are they really just a bunch of aspiring genin? Shikamaru would think, but most of them would also be thinking things related to that. This is the power of the dragons, Jiraiya thought in amazement, with Tsunade having a similar thought. Yes, Tsunade was also present, I forgot to mention it in the previous part. Impressive, Kakashi would think. Naruto. Sachi. Minato and Kushina shouted in concern, watching as the Sekiryuutei and the Hakuryuuku emerged from the explosion, with their upper bodies and lower bodies partially torn. Sasuke. Mikoto, Itachi, and Shizui would shout. Fugaku, inwardly, thought how powerful the Uchiha clan would become if they managed to bring Sasuke back into their fold. The two sacred gear wielders would crash to the ground, remaining motionless for 10 seconds. Iruka, who previously couldn't utter a word due to the shock, would recover from his astonishment and declare a tie. But before he could do so, the young men would get up from the ground without standing, panting. Sasuke, you owe me new clothes, Naruto said mockingly, to which the raven-haired boy replied. Ah, and you don't. That's all they can think to say, the others would think. The rivals would stand up, quite tired, making it easier to see their well-defined bodies, which had well-defined abs and arms, making all the girls blush. What a body, most women would think, even Mito. Wait a minute, what the hell am I thinking? The younger Uzumaki would shout in her thoughts as she realized what she had thought a moment ago. The opponents attempted to summon their armor again, but realized their chakra reserves were too low to recreate them. They would have to wait a while before using them again, but that wouldn't stop them. Resuming their fight, Naruto ran toward Sasuke, trying to punch him in the cheek. Sasuke dodged, placing his hands on the ground and bringing his legs together to strike Naruto's face. Naruto missed, then kneed him in the stomach, nearly knocking Sasuke off his feet. Thanks to his wings, he was able to get back to his feet. Without wasting any time, the raven-haired boy rushed towards the Redeed, aiming for a blow to the face. To avoid the attack, Naruto leaped forward, clasping his hands together like a mace. Boost boost boost, the boosted gear would be activated, causing Naruto to lower his arms and hit the other's head, who in response would grab his leg and slam him to the ground. Divide divide divide, it would be heard from the blue wings. The Hakuryuuku would give a small jump to descend steeply, with his leg extended to sink his opponent to the ground, to which the Sekiryuutei would roll his body dodging it, thus getting to his feet quickly. Sasuke would try to give him a sidekick, missing since Naruto would duck and also sweep the legs of the raven-haired boy with his hands, almost falling both to the ground. But they would be enveloped in their respective red and white auras, both getting to their feet and approaching each other with a jump, colliding their knees so hard that it would make them separate from each other. You know what, Naruto? I can't hold back any longer, let's use all our power, Sasuke said, deactivating the helmet of his armor. These words caused confusion and surprise among the others, who had no idea what Sasuke was about to do. The raven-haired man closed his eyes, and the gems on his body began to glow blue. I, the one who will awaken, Sasuke would begin to recite, something that no one would understand why. Itachi and Grayfia would look at each other intently and nod their heads, since for them it was very clear what he wanted to do. Naruto, faced with this, would give a challenging look. I won't be left behind. Naruto declared, and just like his rival, he deactivated his mask, closed his eyes, and the gems on his body glowed green. I, the one who will awaken. I am the heavenly dragon who stole the principles of God's supremacy. I envy infinity and I pursue the dream. I am the celestial dragon who stole the principles of God's dominion. I laugh at infinity and despise sleep. I will become the white dragon of supremacy. I will become the red dragon of domination. Everyone could feel the immense power they were both unleashing and the murderous intent they were unwittingly expelling. The genin were trembling from the power they felt, so much so that some even fell. The Jounin and Chunin were speechless at the power they emitted, and the Hokage and his wife were stunned by the power their son had obtained without anyone's help, a power that even equaled that of Ibijuu, as were Makoto, Itachi, Shizui, and Fugaku. Those children will finally make Konoha the most powerful village of all, as it should be. The two of them alone will defeat all the other villages. I must make them prostrate themselves at my feet, Danzo thought with restrained happiness, as he felt the immense power that the dragon bearers expelled. I will take you to the farthest limits of innocence. I will plunge you into the depths of crimson purgatory, but before they could finish their respective chants, Grayfia appeared behind Naruto and Itachi behind Sasuke, covering their mouths respectively, causing their powers to stabilize. The sacred gear holders took the hands that prevented them from speaking and pulled them away. Itachi, why did you stop me? Sasuke asked, annoyed. Sasuke, you have little chakra. If you activate Juggernaut Drive, instead of spending chakra, you'll spend years of your life and die, he said in a scolding tone, confusing those present, who didn't know what he meant by Juggernaut Drive, although they assumed it was related to the immense power they had been expelling a while ago, but they were also scared that it took years of life to obtain that immense power. The same goes for you, Naruto-sama. What you were about to do was very reckless. I can't allow your life to be put at risk like that. I hope it doesn't happen again, and that you only use that form in emergencies, the silver-haired woman ordered, causing Naruto to blush at the way his maid was scolding him. The others couldn't help but laugh at the situation either. Itachi and Grayfia finally left the stage, leaving the rivals alone once more. Anyway, if we can't finish this that way, then we'll finish it like last time, Sasuke declared, raising his arm, which was accumulating a lot of lightning chakra, creating a sphere of blue electricity. This surprised Kakashi, who for a moment thought he was using the Chidori, but he realized that wasn't the case. This was simply an accumulation of lightning chakra and nothing more, unlike the Chidori, which, in addition to accumulating its respective chakra nature, had to be molded to act like a blade. Lightning release. Nameless technique, Sasuke joked, which caused a slight laugh from Naruto, who raised his arm and began to gather chakra, forming his own Rasengan. Welsh Rasengan, Naruto said. Wait a minute, weren't jutsus prohibited? Menma said, annoyed. They are so focused on their fight that they no longer care about the rules, the only thing on their minds is winning against the other, Kushina said seriously. Sasuke and Naruto would stand still for a few seconds staring at each other until they both ran at full speed towards each other without fear of their techniques. They would shout at each other, their attacks about to collide, until Minato appeared in the center of them, grabbing both of their wrists and preventing the attacks from colliding. What do you think you're doing? The Hokage asked seriously, before yelling at them, did you want to kill each other? We don't care about that, get out of our way you bastard, we won't leave here until our fight is over. Naruto yelled at Minato. That comment hurt the fourth Hokage quite a bit, but he still wasn't going to let their attacks clash. Fine, if that's what you want, then so be it. Naruto would shout again, taking out his wings and activating his thrusters, as would Sasuke who would make use of his wings. The force they exerted far exceeded that of Minato, who would be forced to let go of them so as not to be damaged in the crossfire. Naruto. Sasuke. The rivals would shout in unison, clashing their jutsus, creating a multicolored dome that quickly began to grow larger, almost completely destroying the training field and forcing spectators to move away. Naruto. Minato and Kushina would scream in terror. Naruto-sama. Grayfia would shout, cursing herself in her mind for being careless, since she thought Minato was capable of stopping his master. Sasuke, Makoto, Itachi, Shizui and Fugaku would shout. When the energy sphere disappeared, leaving a fairly large crater with a depth of 2 meters, the two opponents would be shown, without their respective sacred gear, with many more wounds, and with a lot of blood spread all over their bodies. The first to react would be Grayfia, who would run to Naruto and Makoto, Itachi, Shizui and Fugaku would go to Sasuke. Naruto-sama, are you conscious? The silver-haired woman asked with concern. Yes, don't worry, these wounds are nothing, they just need to be treated and I'll be as good as new, Naruto replied, with his typical smile, before falling unconscious. Son, are you alright? He would ask with strange concern, which would greatly anger the ex-Uchiha and the others. Of course, now I'm worrying her, the dark-haired man thought, but he replied anyway. You don't have to be like that, I just need to rest for a few days. Tsunade, after recovering from her shock, would approach the injured Sharingan wielder and begin using her medical jutsu to heal him. "Thank you, Tsunade," Mikoto said gratefully. "That's what friends are for," Tsunade would reply with a smile. Minato and Kushina would come out of their stupor and head towards the crater, more specifically to where Tsunade was. "Tsunade, after you heal Sasuke, could you heal Naruto?" Kushina asked. "With pleasure, but it will take me quite a while to heal Sasuke. For now, you'll have to take care of Naruto until I finish," the blonde doctor replied. The Redeed smiled at this, as this would help her gain some trust from Naruto. "Now that I think about it, where is Naruto?" Minato would ask, looking in different directions in search of the Redeed. Kushina also began looking in other directions for her son. Not seeing him, the blonde and the Redeed decided to leave the crater to find him, but they realized that Grayfia was carrying Naruto, almost about to enter the academy. "Where are you taking it?" Kushina would ask with suppressed fury. "Isn't it obvious? I'm going to cure him. I can't let him stay in that state," the silver-haired woman replied in a serious tone. "And what can you do?" the Redeed would ask again. "I have a technique that allows me to heal him in a short time, so I would appreciate it if you would keep quiet. I have more important things to do," the maid finished, then left. Kushina wanted to hit her so she would hand over Naruto, but she knew that would only prove that he hated her even more than he already did, so she had no choice but to trust Grayfia. A few seconds passed before Grayfia arrived at the academy's infirmary. She found the place in disarray, with things scattered on the floor and a slightly cracked window, a remnant of the previous fight. Ignoring this, she laid Naruto on the bed, closing the door and curtains. Without hesitation, the maid began undressing him. In a few moments, she was left only in black underwear and a matching bra. She removed the bra, leaving only her panties, and then proceeded to undress Naruto, leaving him in just red boxer shorts, out of respect for the Redeed. Finally, she laid him on the bed and then lay down beside him, pressing her chest against his back. "Grayfia-chan," Naruto would whisper. "Just rest, Naruto-kun. I'll take care of everything, and I'll have him recovered in a few hours," Grayfia said with a smile, closing her eyes to fall asleep. Chapter 8. The end of the Warhawk has arrived. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei. Chapter 7. The end of the Warhawk has arrived. At this moment, the red-haired matriarch of the Uzumaki clan, the fourth Hokage, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and even Menma and Mito, would be seen wandering the halls of the academy in search of their family, since they had no idea where Grayfia had taken him, until the most obvious option came to mind. The infirmary, and that's where they headed. "Why have you come here?" Tsunade asked the children of the heroes of Konoha, since, truth be told, they obviously didn't like Naruto very much. "I feel like I'm going to like what I'm going to see," Menma replied with little interest, and Mito responded, "I just feel like I should go, that's all." When they arrived at the infirmary, Kushina would be the one to open the door. "Hi Sachi, I wanted to know how you were feeling." She remained silent due to the shock she received. The others who entered also could not avoid having the same reaction as the Redeed, because of what they were seeing. Naruto was lying on the stretcher shirtless, probably naked, next to Grayfia, who was in the same condition as Naruto. You could even see a portion of her breasts, but to the men's misfortune, the white sheet, it should be noted that the men had a nosebleed, leaving a line of blood on their noses, while the women were simply confused, but Kushina got angry and would scream. "What the hell are you doing?" This would cause Naruto to wake up, but strangely not Grayfia. "Odd, I don't remember my alarm clock being so noisy," the Redeed complained, eliciting a few chuckles from the others present and a hint of anger in Kushina's eyes, but the aforementioned wouldn't hear them, as he was looking in the opposite direction from where the door was, looking at Grayfia, greeting her with a warm voice and smile. "Wake up, Grayfia-chan," causing the aforementioned to wake up, gently opening her eyes, returning the greeting. "Good morning, Naruto-sama." But suddenly she blushed a little, confusing the ex-Uzumaki, because this was not a usual reaction of hers, until he realized that there were some presences behind him, so he turned around, seeing the others who entered the infirmary, blushing suddenly. What the hell are you doing here? Didn't anyone teach you to knock on the fucking door before entering?" Naruto yelled, grabbing a smoke bomb from his ninja weapon pouch, which luckily was on a table near the stretcher, and throwing it, creating a smoke screen that would last about 10 seconds before being removed by a gust of air created by the expulsion of Naruto's chakra, showing him with his arms crossed, next to Grayfia already dressed. Even with her lipstick behind Naruto, who maintained a serious expression. "What do you want?" Naruto asked in a cold tone, to which Kushina responded with a shout. "Don't give us that, you servant." Turning to Grayfia, "You said you were going to heal him, but I come in and find out that all you did was sleep with my son." That made the silver-haired woman frown and respond harshly. "That's exactly what I did, I've already healed most of his wounds." Kushina looked more closely at Naruto, seeing that most of Naruto's wounds had been healed. Only a few scratches remained, but nothing to worry about. "But how did you do it?" Tsunade asked, joining the conversation. She was an expert in medical ninjutsu, but in her opinion, healing someone with so many wounds simply by sleeping with that person was ridiculous. I have the ability to heal people through physical contact using my power. I left him in those conditions so that it would have more effect. What a strange method of healing, the women would think. What a great method, I want to be cured like that, the men thought, until Naruto spoke up. If that's all you wanted to tell me, then I'll leave. Then he turned to look at Minato. Are you going to make the deliveries of the ninja headbands now? Yes, indeed, Mito, Menma, you also have to go. The aforementioned would do as requested and go to their classroom. Excuse me, Naruto-sama, but I have to go out and do something important. I'll be back in a moment, Grayfia declared, to which Naruto agreed. The silver-haired girl went to the academy courtyard and began to wander around. A few minutes passed, and Grayfia stopped walking, frowning and thinking. Someone stole the gems. Meanwhile, Naruto entered his classroom, seeing Iruka and Mizuki. The others looked at Naruto with awe, still remembering his display of power in the fights, but they were also confused because the Redeed had almost no injuries despite the damage he received in his fight against Sasuke. Putting that aside, Iruka greeted Naruto normally. Wow, Naruto, you arrived just in time. We were about to hand out the shinobi headbands. The Redeed nodded, going to his post next to Sasuke. I see you healed quickly, he said in a serious tone, before giving a mocking smile. I suppose Grayfia-chan gave you her special treatment, didn't she? To which Naruto only snorted while the raven-haired boy regained his serious tone. Joking aside, I warn you that few failed the Genin promotion exam, meaning most of us became ninjas. Tomorrow the rookies of the year will be announced along with the team selections. Guys, I have nothing more to say to you, except that you have my sincerest congratulations. Iruka would begin to give a speech that most would ignore. Now you can collect your headbands that identify you as shinobi. Each student then went to the table where there was a large number of ninja headbands, collecting them and putting them on their foreheads. You can leave now. Remember that the teams will be selected tomorrow, at the same time and in the same room, Mizuki stated, after which everyone left the academy, all congratulated by their parents, except for Naruto and Sasuke who were off to the side away from the others because they considered themselves without parents. Congratulations Sasuke, said a voice that the aforementioned would immediately recognize, turning around. Itachi, Sasuke would say, looking at the aforementioned, but he would also see that another person was next to his brother, who was none other than Izumi Uchiha. Oh Izumi, you've already returned from your mission. That's right, I must admit it was very tiring being away from the village for so long. Happy birthday to you too, Naruto, even though it was a few days ago, haha. The brunette laughed, then noticed Grayfia greeting her. Hello Grayfia. In the 2 years Grayfia spent in that world, Izumi became a great friend to the silver-haired girl, since her attitude was very warm and friendly. Although it was difficult for the brunette to socialize with her, because before she acted in a colder way to anyone who wasn't Naruto, that changed a while ago, making her a little friendlier, although without completely abandoning her personality that at first glance seemed serious and cold. Hello Izumi-san, she greeted with a small smile, happy to see her friend after so many days. The brunette looked closely, noticing the headbands they had on their foreheads. I see you passed the Genin exam, Izumi said with a smile. Well, of course, did we surprise you? Sasuke asked with an arrogant expression. No. What do you mean, no? Sasuke replied. Because I already knew you were going to pass, I mean, you guys are at Jonin level, a simple test to become a Genin obviously wasn't going to be anything for you, Uchiha replied. That makes sense, Naruto said. Anyway, I have nothing more to do here, goodbye Naruto, Itachi and Izumi, Sasuke declared, taking out his divine dividing wings. In his mind, he was quite happy, since not having to hide his sacred gear anymore, he could now use it as many times as he wanted without being asked. Congratulations, son, said a voice that was none other than Fugaku, who had a small smile. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at this. The younger raven-haired boy was not stupid and knew what Fugaku wanted to achieve with this. Thank you for the compliments, I suppose. And with great speed, he flew out of the academy to do dragon things. I think I'll leave too. I have nothing more to do here. I already have my headband and I'm a true shinobi, the Sekiryuutei commented, then looked at Itachi and Izumi. See you later, I'm going to practice Kenjutsu. Kushina and her family, who were close enough to hear them, took advantage of the moment. Naruto, if you'd like, I can help you improve your Kenjutsu skills. After all, that's my specialty. Naruto would reply simply, don't worry, Kushina-sama, I can train without your help. Besides, Grayfia-chan can help me with my training so you don't waste your time. After all, she's also quite skilled with swords. This last statement would depress the older Redeed. Tsunade would be angry at the way Naruto rejected his mother, but the Redeed's words were true, since Grayfia had participated in the war between the old and new mass and had more combat experience than any other shinobi in the world. Well, goodbye Itachi, Izumi. And with that, she left, accompanied by her demon maid. Many hours had passed since the shinobi headbands were distributed and a meeting was scheduled due to the immense power and potential Naruto and Sasuke possessed with the dragons sealed within their bodies. However, at the request of Danzo, Kaharu and Homura, the meeting was postponed. At this time, Naruto and Grayfia were seen sitting atop the head of the second Hokage, watching the sunset. "What a beautiful view, don't you think, Grayfia-chan?" Naruto would say. "I agree with you, I also wanted to congratulate you on becoming a shinobi." "Thank you, you don't know how happy I am that you dedicate these words to me, but that wouldn't be possible if I hadn't met you, since you always helped me in my training and made me discover the power of Drag. I have no words to thank you," he said with a smile that made Grayfia smile a little too. "I do it for you, who are my master," she said, provoking a small laugh. "Grayfia-chan, I want you to know that I don't see you as just a simple servant, you are a very important person to me, and I couldn't imagine my life without you in it, just thinking about it hurts." These words caused Grayfia to blush more than usual. She tried to compose herself, but it was useless as Naruto placed his hand on top of hers, which made her blush even more. The Redeed began to approach the maid who would also imitate his action, both were just millimeters away from showing each other how much they loved one another. "Ahem," a voice echoed behind them, belonging to an Anbu with a bird mask. "I'm sorry to interrupt your romantic moment, but your presence is requested in the Konoha council chamber, Naruto." This caused the two to quickly separate in embarrassment, although in their minds they wanted to kill the Anbu for interrupting them. "I'll be there and I'll do you the favor of taking you back." These words confused the Anbu, but that would be replaced by fear when he saw that Naruto's eyes turned green and the whiskers on his cheeks became longer and more pronounced. This happened every time the Redeed got angry. "Take this." With that, he threw a punch, which, as he had said before, would send him crashing into the Hokage tower located below the stone faces, more specifically into the window where the meetings were held, shattering it. Naruto-sama didn't have to do that, the silver-haired woman opined, finally able to compose herself after what had happened earlier. "It just really annoyed me that guy suddenly appeared," grumbled Drake's wielder, still blushing. "Anyway, let's go." They headed towards the council chamber, but before he could fully descend from the second Hokage's face, he stepped on one of his eyes, noticing that the material of that part of his body wasn't stone like the rest. "Wait Grayfia-chan, there's something very strange about Tobirama's face, and I notice it." The ex-Uzumaki would begin to rub his hand on the stone eye, which more than stone, seemed to be made of metal, also to check something he would make a hint of chakra with his hand, a seal appearing on the structure. "Grayfia-chan, could you destroy the seal?" "I'm not very skilled at Fuinjutsu like you," Naruto asked, receiving a hi from the maid who, through her magic, destroyed the seal. Without wasting any time, the Redeed landed a couple of punches, creating an opening through which they entered. They found themselves in a room with many shelves filled with documents. They both began to investigate, as it seemed very strange that such a place existed within the Hokage's headquarters. They quickly realized that the files contained projects that the Konoha Civilian Council had been working on behind the current Cage's back. Most of these projects had been cancelled or were never implemented, such as one that detailed a plan to exterminate the Uchiha clan, which clearly angered the two infiltrators. But one in particular caught their attention. Project Sharigan Arm, which contained Danzo's plan to send some the Uchihas, were sent on a fake escort mission, only to be intercepted by a large number of root Anbu. Their bodies were then stored at the root base until the Genin promotion exam. They were to be taken to Orochimaru's base in the village hidden in the sound to give him the information they had gathered. In exchange, Orochimaru would implant Sharingan eyes in their arms, injecting Hashirama cells stolen by Danzo to control them properly and replace one of their eyes with an Uchiha eye. It should be noted that the project was signed off by Danzo, which took both of them by surprise. They decided to put the scroll away and head straight to the meeting place until Naruto came up with an idea. Meanwhile, in the village leader's tower, all the clan leaders, the Hokage and his wife, the civilian advisors, Anbu, Jiraiya, Tsunade, among others, would be seen. "Why is that brat taking so long when Sasuke arrived so quickly?" Danzo remarked to the air, his body covered in bandages that wrapped around his arm and part of his eye. Then, in the center of the room, a strange silver circle appeared, rotating on its own axis. Everyone present braced themselves for any kind of attack, but instead, the circle only began to glow brighter. Then, Naruto appeared with his arms crossed and, as usual, Grayfia was by his side. Everyone wondered what kind of jutsu had been used to create it, but they decided to dismiss it and continue with the meeting. "You called me, didn't you?" asked the newcomer. You're right, Naruto and Sasuke, you've been called in to explain your powers to us, Homura said. Naruto looked around for Sasuke and found him leaning his back against a wall. Didn't we already say this? My boosted gear can double my power as many times as I want without limit, as long as my body can withstand the power increases, otherwise my body will suffer immense pain if I do it carelessly, Naruto would reply, followed by Sasuke. And my divine dividing allows me to divide other people's power and make it my own without limit, but just like Naruto I have to do it properly, since I can't force my body to contain more energy than I and my wings can handle. But if that power, as they say, comes from dragons sealed within their bodies, in the first place, how were such beasts sealed within them in the first place, and since when? Or even if dragons exist? Asked Shikaku, the leader of the Nara clan. Dragon Albion inside their hosts would be enraged by the fact that a human didn't believe in their existence. Of course they exist. If a nine-tailed fox can exist with the power to destroy a village with a single attack, giant toads, an acid-spitting slug that speaks even though it shouldn't have vocal cords, snakes over 10 meters long that shed their skin in less than a second, why not dragons? Naruto questioned, earning him a point from everyone. He then answered his own question, to answer your other question, well, since we were born. But how could they be born with something sealed inside their bodies? That's ridiculous. Kaher raised her voice. Someone sealed us at the moment we were born, and if you're wondering, not even we know who did it, just like Dragon Albion. This time Sasuke was the one who answered, but he lied at the end, since his companions always refused to tell them who sealed them and didn't want the others to distrust them. Who are Dragon Albion? Tsunade would ask. Those are the names of the dragons inside our bodies. Mine is Albion, while Naruto has Drag. In case you're wondering, we get along well with them. Unlike the Biju and Jinchuriki, we have a good relationship, and that's why we can use their powers in sync as partners, Sasuke answered, leaving those present more than surprised. Biju had always hated humans and refused to be sealed in containers, causing them to never help their hosts. But with the dragons that Naruto and Sasuke possessed, it was different. They thought Naruto and Sasuke dominated and controlled their beasts. That clears up a lot of doubts, Shinaburam commented. But are you two dragons? Another ignorant civilian would ask. Of course not, I suppose you believe that the Jinchuriki of the Biju are their reincarnations, Naruto said. Well, it doesn't work like that. Just because I sealed a Biju inside someone doesn't make them its reincarnation. Just because I have a dragon in my body doesn't make me one. Or if I sealed a kunai inside you, would you become one? This caused the civilians to lower their heads, as they remembered how they discriminated against Kushina, but never against Menmaru Mido, even though they were the children of the 4th Hokage, and Danzo had told them they were heroines of the village, among other things. Although if I can become one, I do want to, Naruto thought, but accidentally said it out loud, making everyone hear him. Sasuke, Grayfia, Itachi, Shizui, and the rest of Naruto's friends facepalmed in exasperation and embarrassment at the Redeed's idiotic act, who after a few moments, realized the stupidity of his thinking. Shit, I screwed up. What do you mean by that? Danzo asked with great interest. Without any other choice, the Sekiryuutei had to answer. The thing is, we can give our dragons parts of our bodies to increase our power. If we give them our hearts, we'll become complete dragons, but our appearance won't change. We'd be something like humanoid dragons. The benefits are that our longevity would increase, allowing us to live for more than 1,000 years, and our power would increase greatly. This again left those present with a certain impression, and Danzo had a great idea. Why don't you create a dragon clan? Danzo suggested, inwardly chuckling maliciously, leaving the civilians thinking it was a great idea, but the shinobi already knew what the Warhawk wanted to achieve. I won't let my son fall into their trap, Kushina and Makoto thought in unison. Minato, knowing their intentions, also disagreed. Fugaku was another story, since he thought that if Sasuke accepted and returned to his clan, he could start a new generation of half-dragon Uchihas. Sasuke and Naruto raised an eyebrow at the proposal, although inwardly they didn't deny that it was a good idea if it weren't for the fact that Danzo didn't have good intentions. You know what? It would be a good idea if you weren't a traitor, Naruto replied coldly, making the mummy respond cynically. What are you talking about? But he would cut himself off when he saw Naruto take out a scroll from one of his pockets that he knew perfectly well. It was the scroll with his Sharingan arm project. Take that scroll away from him, it contains important information about Root. Danzo shouted to one of his northeast Anbu, who obeyed his leader, rushing towards the Redeed and grabbing his wrist, but another hand grabbed his own, seeing that Grayfia had done it. Get your filthy hands off Naruto-sama, or I'll kill you. With that, she applied force to the Anbu's wrist, which was on the verge of breaking. This also caused his hand to leap to Naruto, who then threw the scroll to the Hokage. Danzo, with few options, jumped to catch the scroll, until Sasuke, his wings activated, kneed him in the back, making him groan in pain. Then, he grabbed Danzo's arms with his forearms, placed his hands on his head, and quickly divided his power, trapping him. The fourth Hokage opened the scroll, and the clan leaders stood behind him to read the contents, becoming outraged by what was inside. Danzo Shimura, you will be executed for giving Orochimaru information about our genin and for killing Uchihas solely for your ambition for power. Sasuke, remove the bandages, Minato said very seriously. The raven-haired man would carry out the order as all the civilians watched in terror, seeing how Danzo's arm had Sharingan eyes inserted, not to mention that he also had an Uchiha eye on his face. You should already know what happens to traitors, the older blonde man said. You will be punished with death. Okage-sama, spoke a voice that belonged to Naruto, causing everyone to turn to look at him. I kindly request the opportunity for Sasuke and me to kill him. After all, it is thanks to him that Sasuke and I were treated like trash compared to our brothers, since he made the civilians see us as heroes. That is why we want the satisfaction of killing him. This took those present by surprise, as they hadn't expected such a request, but the blonde didn't have to think long before giving an answer. I authorize you. Naruto and Sasuke looked at Danzo with sadistic faces. They had been waiting for this moment for a long time. No, I will not die in your filthy hands. The warhawk shouted, and then the arm that did not contain Sharingan was enveloped in a white glow very familiar to those present, but Naruto and Sasuke were petrified when they saw what Danzo had, who had a white gauntlet with a blue gem on his forearm. Taking advantage of Sasuke's shock, he broke free from his grip and fell to the ground on his feet. What do you think? I was the one who stole the gems that fell in their battle, he said arrogantly. Gems? What are you talking about? Naruto asked, not knowing what she was talking about, but Grayfia would speak up. Please excuse me, but I forgot to notify you that during your fight against Sasuke-san, some gems from your armor came out of your armor. That was the reason why I went to the academy courtyard to see if anyone had taken them. Naruto remained silent for a few seconds, then smiled. Don't worry although I have to admit I didn't expect this, the Redeed commented before taking out his boosted gear. But there are still things I have to settle with this guy. Boost. Danzo would go at full speed to try to divide his power, but he wasn't fast enough, as Naruto would punch him in the stomach. Even so, though you possess Sasuke's power, you can only divide my power unless you touch me, not to mention you're not used to using this kind of power, he said as he watched his opponent clutch his stomach, then saw the Sharingan in his left eye. First, I'll get rid of that nuisance. He placed his fingers near the eye of the shinobi no Yomi, the shinobi of darkness, and then ripped it out, making him scream. Naruto threw the scarlet eye to Mikoto, who caught it. That belongs to him, he said, looking at Mikoto, then focusing his gaze on the arm with the Sharingan. I also have to take this from you. With that, he grabbed the black-haired man's arms, placing his leg on his chest and tearing off the infected arm, making him scream again. This belongs to me too, a new voice spoke from behind the one-eyed man, who was Sasuke, his expression grim. Sasuke's right palm glowed, revealing a katana with a white blade and a blue hilt. This was because Sasuke had synchronized divine dividing with the sword, allowing him to summon it at will. Furthermore, Albion had transferred a small portion of his power into it, causing the physical transformation and granting it independent power. With great skill, Sasuke severed the other man's arm at the shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. The victim could no longer scream and could only endure the pain. Time to have some fun, Naruto said with a sinister smile, grabbing his face and slamming him against the ground several times. The floor cracked a little, and after slamming him about 10 times, the Redeed sat on his torso to give him a large number of punches for a good while, like when Kratos killed Zeus in Gao 3, approximately 3 minutes. I'm satisfied now, Naruto declared, standing up and staring intently at Danzo, whose face was covered in blood. It should be noted that the civilians were horrified by the cruelty Naruto used. It's your turn now, Naruto said to Sasuke, grabbing his victim by the leg and throwing him around like a sack of potatoes. The raven-haired boy grabbed him by the collar and said, "This isn't over yet." Taking flight from the window, he headed towards the sky, leaving trails of white energy. After a few moments, he landed on the ground, hitting his ribs and breaking them on impact. The dark-haired man, unable to endure the pain any longer, let out a heart-rending scream. Sasuke, not caring about his suffering, would grab him by the hair to punch him, kick him, knee him, among other things for a good while. After Sasuke finished venting his frustration, all that could be seen was Danzo, who by sheer miracle was still conscious, but that didn't lessen the infernal pain he felt. The ex-Uchiha grabbed him by the nape of the neck, returning to the Hokage box, showing them what was left of his body, which filled the civilians with even more terror. Some couldn't hold back the urge to vomit, while the shinobi only felt nauseous. Sasuke simply approached Naruto, lowering the body of the ninja he was carrying. "Let's finish this," Sasuke said, looking at the soon-to-be-killed man. "Any last words, if you can say them?" He said the last part jokingly. Hi sons D of P. Danzo was about to finish his last breath, but Naruto interrupted him. If I keep listening to his disgusting voice my ears are going to bleed, could you silence him Grayfia-chan? The silver-haired girl obeyed Naruto's order, creating a thin needle of ice, stabbing it into his vocal cords, making Shimura start to babble nonsense. It's time to end this, the wielder of Drake declared, before plunging a kunai into his head, killing him instantly. Sasuke released the now corpse, and both turned their gaze to Minato. If we've finished the reason we were summoned, can we leave now? Naruto asked. Minato took a while to answer, as he was surprised to see his son kill Danzo in such a cruel way. Why yes, you can leave now, replied the blonde, at which point Sasuke approached the broken window that Naruto had left by throwing the Anbu into it to fly away, while Naruto left through the door with Grayfia. An awkward silence filled the room, and Kushina decided to ease the atmosphere by showing a fake smile. Well, why don't we continue with the meeting? The civilians calmed down a little. Anbus, take Danzo's body and burn it, then we'll clean the room, the Hokage ordered, to which two Anbus came out and took the corpse away. Now let the team selection begin, the blonde man declared. Minato, Jiraiya said as he approached his student. Is something wrong, Jiraiya-sensei? You forgot to ask Naruto why he hit that Anbu, the white-haired man replied, pointing his finger at the Anbu with a bird mask, who had been sent to search for Naruto. Chapter 9. New team. Xiaosu, isn't that nice? Waiting 2 months for a new chapter, even I feel like I've kind of forgotten about you all, but anyway, I want you to read this chapter to the end, there will be an announcement there that I think you like. Naruto, the Sekiryuutei. Chapter 8. New team. It was already morning in all the elemental nations, but it was also a special day for the genin of the Leaf Village, after all, today was the day of the team selection, something fundamental to start a shinobi career, but we will focus on the Sekiryuutei. Naruto Department 7 a.m. Naruto slowly opened his eyes until they were fully open, noticing that he was alone in bed, which surprised him a little. After all, the first thing he saw upon waking was Grayfia, but he simply dismissed the matter, sitting up in bed and stretching while yawning. I see you're awake, a voice said softly. Naruto looked to his right side of the bed, noticing Grayfia calmly watching him while holding Naruto's clothes. Oh, there you were, the redhead said, then noticed that the maid was wearing her clothes, including underwear. Although he was more or less used to having his clothes brought to him ready, it still made him uncomfortable. You can leave your clothes on the bed to get dressed later, thank you for bringing them, but why did you get up so early? The young man asked. I woke up earlier than usual today for no apparent reason, so I took the opportunity to prepare your things, especially since today is the day your team is selected, the silver-haired woman replied. Well, I'll go get ready to go to the academy, and the best part is, for the last time, Naruto declared, saying the last part with a smile. I'll be waiting for him with his breakfast, the silver-haired woman finished as she left her master's room. Naruto Department 7:30 a.m. Naruto, having just left the bathroom after taking care of his various needs, sat down in one of the kitchen chairs, while Grayfia sat waiting for him. The redhead fixed his gaze on a bowl of ramen for himself, while his companion also had a bowl for herself. This took him by surprise, and he watched his maid attentively as she let out a sigh of resignation. Unfortunately, our pantry is running low. I had to prepare your lunch for you to take to the academy, so I don't have enough food to make a decent breakfast. I had no choice but to make instant ramen. This brought a satisfied smile to Naruto's face, but Grayfia wore a defeated expression. She always tried her best to give Naruto quality food, and she was a little displeased that he was eating something as unhealthy as instant ramen. Everything else happened normally. Naruto put on his shinobi headband and went to the academy accompanied by Grayfia. It should be noted that on the street, Naruto and Grayfia were looked at with fear and respect. After all, they together with Sasuke had mercilessly killed and wiped the floor with Danzo Shimura, who was accused of treason by the Hokage, and the clan heads for giving Orochimaru information about their genin until halfway there, someone appeared. I got you, Naruto. Shouted a voice from one of the fences of a nearby house where the pair were passing. It turned out to be Konohamaru, Hiruzen Sarutobi's grandson, who was hiding under a blanket with a design from the fence. He lunged at Naruto, who, with his apprentice in front, quickly dodged a punch from Konohamaru. The redhead grabbed one of his opponent's forearms, pinning it behind his back and throwing him to the ground. Konohamaru tried to break free, but Naruto placed one of his kunai millimeters from his neck. That was a pretty quick move, I see you've improved, Naruto commented with a half smile. And I see that you're still as strong as ever, you really don't let yourself be surpassed, huh? That's why I consider you my half-sensei, said the Sekiryuutei's pupil, who then released the brunette and they both stood up. I'd really like to see your progress, but I have to get to the team selection, the blue-eyed man warned. I know, but I wanted to say hello. I also heard that you used the boosted gear against Hokage-sama's children and with Sasuke, said Konohamaru, who also knew Naruto's secret but simply never told Hiruzen at his almost sensei's request. Then the younger boy fixed his gaze on the silver-haired woman of Annihilation and greeted her, "Hello Grayfia." "Good morning, Konohamaru-san," she replied. She did not attack Konohamaru on Naruto's orders, who explained that he needed to see his student's progress and that he shouldn't attack him every time he made those kinds of surprise attacks. "Alright, I won't bother you any longer, come in," the third Hokage's grandson finished, stepping aside so the other two could continue on their way. A few minutes passed and both Naruto and his maid were already in front of the academy. Naruto turned to his companion Grayfia-chan, "Could you please go buy the groceries needed to make our meal, because from what you told me there wasn't much left." "As you command," Grayfia replied seriously without hesitation, as she took out a small notebook with a pen, while Naruto dictated to her what she had to buy, and she wrote it down. When he finished speaking he would take out a wallet shaped like the head of a black dragon with green eyes and give her the money necessary for the order. The silver-haired girl would take the money to go shopping leaving, but not before giving about to her master. But that done, our protagonist entered the establishment, arriving at his classroom and sitting in his seat next to his best friend Sasuke. The rest passed normally, except that the wielders of the celestial dragons were being watched by quite a few women, much to the discomfort of both of them. This was without knowing why, cough cough dragon hormones cough cough. Aside from that, everything went the same until Iruka arrived and gave another speech, until he mentioned certain words that caused everyone without exception to pay attention to him. "Next, I will mention the rookies of the year." Everyone waited expectantly for Chunon's words, who had a smile on his face. "The male rookies of the year are Naruto and Sasuke," Iruka declared. The Sekiryuutei and Hakuryuku had already expected that answer, but that didn't take away from the fact that they felt proud of themselves and were doing well to uphold their respective titles. And the rookie of the year is Mito Uzumaki. The aforementioned would clearly be happy to be the most outstanding kunoichi, but anyway, she had a goal to fulfill, to defeat the Lady of Annihilation. "I congratulate you on your efforts, but as you know, from this moment on you are genin, so you will have to divide into a group of 3 students along with a jounin who will take the lead for carrying out missions of all kinds, so I will read how the teams were decided along with their members," Iruka said, changing his attitude to a serious one. He began to read the names of the teams from 1 to 6 until he got to 7. Team 7, Naruto. The Redeed remained silent but impatient with what his sensei would say next. Sakura Haruno. All the students heard a thud, which turned out to be the drag wielder who hit his face against the desk. Why? Why put him with the most annoying fan of that wretched menma? Were their thoughts. Sasuke. Naruto would raise his head looking at Sasuke with a neutral expression looking out the window, but he would turn to look at his rival, a challenging smile starting to grow, which would be imitated by Naruto, who would think, "At least I have a good teammate." "And by order of Hokage-sama, this team will have 3 more students and 1 more jounin," Iruka warned, confusing those present. Some had already heard of teams with more than 4 members, but this was definitely something new. "These are Menma Namikaze, Mito Uzumaki and Akane Uchiha, and their jounin will be Kakashi Hatake and Kushina Uzumaki." "Aye. Sakura screamed shrilly, wanting to be with her idol Menma. After that scream, some thumps were heard, which must have been Naruto smashing his head on the study table again, and Sasuke, who imitated his friend's action, felt that the one who once called himself his father had something to do with all this. 5 minutes later. The other teams are exactly the same. I'm incredibly lazy to narrate something that everyone already knows. Iruka already declared that it was lunchtime, so that after that they could meet their respective jounin. Naruto was outside eating a bento box prepared by his kind maid, clearly enjoying it. As if by fate, Grayfia walked towards Naruto, who noticed her and greeted her politely, offering her a respectful bow. "I've already left the groceries you asked me to buy at the apartment," the silver-haired woman announced as Naruto thanked her. "Are you enjoying the lunch I prepared for you?" Naruto will quickly reply, "Of course, your food is some of the most delicious I've ever tasted, I'll never get tired of it." "I'm glad to hear those words," Grayfia replied with a half smile. "Hey, you pair of lovebirds," said a nearby voice, which belonged to Menma, with a serious expression. "Ah Menma, it makes me very happy to see you," the Red Emperor replied sarcastically, although this would have no effect on the aforementioned. "I'll be direct, I want a rematch here and now," the blonde declared, but Naruto wouldn't break his composure, putting his bento aside. "So you want me to wipe the floor with you, huh?" The Sekiryuutei stood up from his seat, putting on a challenging smile and being surrounded by a red aura. "Well, it will be a pleasure to crush your pride again." They stared at each other for a few moments until a strange noise was heard. Naruto's defiant smile crumbled, replaced by a grimace of pain as he fell to his knees. His maid, wanting to know what was wrong, asked him. "What's wrong, Naruto-sama?" "Bra Grayfia-chan," Naruto said, then exclaimed, "I need a bath right now." Another even louder noise from the retreated stomach was heard, making Naruto's pained expression worse. Erg. Without thinking, Grayfia would take her teacher in a bridal-style hug, running towards the nearest bathroom, exclaiming. Holding on, Naruto-sama faced with this strange and uncomfortable situation, a drop of sweat would fall down the back of Menma's neck, feeling that the scene he had just seen was ridiculous, and he would also feel that he should be upside down, commenting. "How stupid." 1 hour later, in the classroom. Luckily for Naruto, Grayfia knew a spell to make his stomachache go away, but that didn't lessen the embarrassment of being carried like a princess by a girl. Aside from that, 30 minutes had already passed since the Jonin had collected their teams, while Team 7, accompanied by the demon girl, was still waiting, much to everyone's annoyance. "I understand that patience is a virtue, but this is ridiculous," Naruto grumbled, sitting on one of the benches in the classroom, resting his hand on his face, typically accompanied by a certain silver-haired girl. "They weren't lying when they said that porn addict was one of those who arrived late," commented the White Emperor, leaning against one of the walls of the hall with his arms crossed. "It doesn't surprise me, my father warned me that Kakashi-sensei would be late," Akane continued. "We knew about that too, but I hope Kushina-Akasan gets it to us quickly," said Menma, who was being watched by Sakura from afar. Before they could continue their conversation, the door was opened, revealing Kakashi being dragged by one of his legs by Kushina. "Well, look who's here," Mito said, raising one of her eyebrows. "I had to drag this pervert away," Kushina said with annoyance. "Anyway, I need you to go to the roof of the academy so we can introduce ourselves," Kakashi requested, who, despite everything, had one of his typical Ichiha books in his hands, reading it. "One day I'm going to burn that crap," declared the older Retid, leaving with the silver-haired man. Everyone present had a look of confusion on their faces at the scene they had seen, preferring to put aside what they had seen, they obeyed the order of their senseis. Academy ceiling. The entire Team 7, including Grayfia, were gathered at the top of the academy, and Kakashi, who for once was not glued to his book, decided to give instructions on what they were going to do. "Very well, I want you to introduce yourselves one by one." "And how are we supposed to do it?" Sakura asked. "Tell us what you like, what you dislike, your dreams for the future, hobbies, that kind of thing," the silver-haired man replied. "Why don't you start?" asked the pink-haired girl. "Okay, let me introduce myself. I'm Kakashi Haddock. As for my likes and dislikes, I don't feel like telling you. As for my hobbies, I have many hobbies. And as for my dreams for the future, I've never really thought about it." At these vague answers, everyone felt a large bead of sweat appear on their face as they thought about it at the same time. That was completely useless, he only said her name. "I'm still here, I'm Kushina Uzumaki, I like Genjutsu, spending time with my family and ramen, I dislike degenerate perverts, conceited people, and the books created by a certain toad, and my dream is that my son will see me as his mother again," she said with a smile. "At the rate we're going, it's more likely that Inoki, and Minato will go to a restaurant together for a cup of tea, while happily chatting about their lives," Naruto thought lazily. "Now you, the pink one, it's your turn," the copy ninja requested. "What's my name?" thought the bubblegum-haired girl. "My name is Sakura Haruno, my likes are," she said while looking at Menma. "Kaya, my dream is," she would squeal again. "Is she really going to be a kunoichi?" Grayfia thought with disappointment. She's an insult to any warrior. She won't make it out of a mission alive with that attitude. "Well, I think that's enough, now you Menma," Kushina said, feeling embarrassed by Sakura. "My name is Menma Namikaze, I like instant ramen, the only thing I dislike is my brother, my dream for the future is to become Hokage and beat my brother up," Menma said arrogantly, but Naruto simply rolled his eyes as if he didn't care. "Your turn, Mito," Kushina requested again. "My name is Mito Uzumaki. I like spending time with my friends and eating ramen. What I dislike are perverts, just like my mother. My dream is to be a good leader for the Uzumaki clan and get a rematch with Naruto's maid," Mito said decisively. Grayfia dismissed this, thinking that if she wanted to fight her again, she should simply wipe the floor with that Retid once more. Akame this time the silver-haired man decided to choose. "My name is Akame Uchiha. I like making new friends, training my Sharigan and other things. Like any woman, I hate perverts, and my dream is to be the strongest kunoichi in history," she said seriously, but with a smile on her face. "Alright, your turn Sasuke," Kakashi said. "My name is Sasuke. I like spending time with the people I care about, training to become stronger, eating meat, and reading. I dislike arrogant people and obsessive fans," he said, observing Menma, Mito, and Sakura, who wore annoyed expressions. "My dream is to bring honor to the Hakuryuku, to become a very powerful shinobi, and to one day fight against the Great Red," Sasuke declared. Almost everyone present wouldn't understand who Sasuke meant by the Great Red, but only Grayfia and Naruto would understand what he meant. Well now it's your turn, Naruto, said Kushina, who still didn't understand about the Great Red. I'm just Naruto, Naruto began, making Kushina sad. I like ramen, Naruto continued, making Kakashi think. Wow, what an original family, they all like ramen. Training to become stronger and being with my friends, I dislike it as much as Sasuke does. My dream was to be Hokage, but certain people ruined that dream. These words would make Kushina feel even more miserable. Now all I want is to uphold the name of the Sekiryuutei, to be the most powerful ninja in existence, and the last one is a secret, Naruto concluded. Okay, Kakashi said, turning his gaze to Grayfia, who had been standing beside Naruto without saying a word. So you've been here without saying anything, why don't you introduce yourself? After all, if you're Naruto's maid, we should at least know a little more about you. Alright, Grayfia began. My name is Grayfia Lucifuge. I like reading, being with people I like, and being with Naruto-sama. I dislike perverts, Naruto-sama's enemies, especially Kushina-sama and Hokage-sama, and all I want is to help my master in any way I can and follow him to the ends of the earth if necessary, Grayfia replied seriously. Naruto blushed a little, Kushina felt maternal jealousy, Mito and Menma just rolled their eyes, and Kakashi thought. Do they all have to say they hate perverts? Do you have a maid fetish? Kakashi asked mockingly. Naruto was about to protest until he noticed a dangerous dark aura surrounding his maid, who stared with a frown at the other silver-haired man, who began to feel fear. Kakashi-san, if you want to keep what makes you a man intact, then keep your silly comments to yourself, Grayfia politely requested. Why yes, the Jounin accepted while thinking. Mental note. Never make Grayfia-san angry. As the introductions were over, Kushina tried to get everyone's attention by pretending to cough. Now that we've introduced ourselves, I have to warn you that we're going to do one last test. What kind of test? Sasuke asked. The survival test. We want to see you tomorrow at 7 AM at training ground number 7, Kakashi continued, getting up from the railing where he was sitting. Oh, I almost forgot, you'd better not eat breakfast tomorrow or else you'll throw up. He said this in a serious and somewhat sinister voice, intriguing everyone present, but he would leave when they saw Kushina give him a light tap on the head. Don't listen to him, kids. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. He's just joking, Kushina said, causing an anime-style sweat drops to appear on everyone present. Well, goodbye, the Jounin said, disappearing in a leaf shushin, while the others got up from the floor and left. The test will be interesting, Sasuke thought. I must admit I didn't like this chapter very much because I wanted to include the fight against Kakashi, but my desire to update this story as quickly as possible won out, so I left it for a future chapter. The thing I wanted to let you know is that from now on, the first 10 people who comment on a new chapter will have the opportunity to have their questions answered in the next one. And that's how it will be from now on. Have a good day. Bye. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.